My name's Jimmy. Yeah, it's Friday night. You're definitely in with the in crowd. It's a friend of the family, Dobie Gray. Let's get this party started.
Dang dang dang, ding a dong ding, blue moon, moon, blue moon, dip dip dip, moon, 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 blue moon, dip dip dip, moon, 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 blue moon, dip dip dip, bomb 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 bomb, dang dang dang, ding a dong ding, blue moon. You saw me standing alone, without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. Dang dang dang, ding a dong, blue moon. You knew just what I was there for. You heard me saying a prayer for someone I really did care for. And then they suddenly appeared before me, the only one my arms would ever hold. I heard somebody whisper, please adore me. And when I looked, the moon had set to go. Blue moon, now I'm no longer alone, without a dream in my heart.
Hey, here's one hidden check you can't
Without
tell.
a love of my own. Dang dang dang, ding dong ding, blue.
Epic Journeyman, are you there?
I am here, but I'm
Excellent.
also there. Caught a wave on over to the Big Island today, so I'm all over the place. I'm an inter-island traveler.
Sweet. Well, let me see if I can get you sounding good. So, hey, man, it's Friday night. It's coming into All Hallows Eve. What's going on, Bernays Sauce? Bernays Sauce sent me some emails, and I didn't know it was Bernays, and I didn't know what he's talking about. So I had to I had to ask him a few questions. I had to run him through the Jimmy, let me ask you a question.
Where were you united April 13th, 1972?
Well, who knows? I was 12 years old, and I was probably out and about. I know I used to run wild, run free when I was a kid. I mean, but that was part of growing up.
Me too, man. Yeah, I mean, be home by supper. That was it. Hop on your bike and go.
I know,
Yeah.
I was thinking earlier today, man, I'm really lucky to have grown up when I did. Because, it made me who I am today. And, you can't grow up the way we did back when running wild, running free. So you can't end up with the kind of knowledge that you end up with when you're going down a hill at 20 miles an hour and you hit a rock on your skateboard and you
Go flying. Yes, we've all done that. Or orange peel, the infamous orange peel. What the hell is an orange peel doing in the middle of the road, right? You find that one orange peel and soar 20 feet through the air, minus your skateboard.
That's right. Well, we get ready to go live on Revolution Radio. There's a full chat room over there. I know a bunch of people are going to be tuning in tonight to take a ride down memory lane. Bruce McDonald's been reading Laurel Canyon all week. He's not done. He's going to be doing it another week, and so people are all stoked on the information. So I went on there today in case you didn't catch it, and had a little conversation with Bruce, and so we're going to get into it tonight, but we had already planned to do a mind control psycho sex bunny show tonight, as it were. So it ties in perfectly, Epic.
Oh, it does. It does. I got to catch some of that show later on. I didn't catch it live because I was working, but I listened to it tonight when I got back. I'm in a hotel today. It's actually a townhouse. It's really nice. 2 bedrooms, upstairs, downstairs. Nobody here but me because COVID, so it's super cheap. It's like, well, sure, it'd be nice to have somebody over, but yeah, what can you do, right? But it's nice. It's nice and quiet for the broadcast anyway. I should hype it up though and say it's actually a house party, huh? It's a big Halloween party coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I've stayed in some nice hotels over the period of time in my life, here and there. And I'm sure it must be nice to have a really nice hotel with nobody there. Just have the whole place all to yourself. Go down to the bar. Let's get yourself a drink or whatever. I mean,
Ain't no bar though.
no, but you can go down to the bar and just pull your flask out of your
Right.
out of your
Absolutely.
swim trunks or from underneath your hat, or just pull
Waterproof flask, right?
or just pull out a
It's on my weight belt. It's on my weight belt, right? I have each one of those weights is actually a flask, right? So just pop one open whenever I need to, right? One has lead in it, one has whatever kind of a whiskey, or one has wine, whatever. Then another lead piece. So whenever I'm underwater and I pop back out on the beach, I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, listen, I got to hook up. We got to get Rio in here. So let me just grab him. I told him I'd get him at 10:45. So let's just roll the dice and see if it all happens. You never know. Never know. Rio is my handler before Epic. So it's nice. Both of my
I remember.
both
Yeah.
of my handlers will be able to meet each other. So yeah, we got a good one planned for you tonight. So stick around, stay cool, don't worry about a thing. Trying to dial in Rio right now, and we'll see. I don't know if he's picking up. It doesn't appear like he is, but he won't have to after this. I think he can just join the call at any moment after this. So, Epic, you're going to need to take the mic here for a few because I need to do a bunch of stuff to get us ready for the main show over there. So,
Yeah, sure thing. I'll share the Big Island experience right now. If you're in a hotel in the Big Island with no place to go, what it's like. So I got the Big Island TV. It comes up in the hotel. It pops onto all the things you can do on the Big Island, which of course you can't do right now because it's not everything shut down, but a lot of tourist stuff is. But it's fun to watch because everybody's doing these manta ray dives and out there paddleboarding and jumping off these cliffs I've never seen. And I live here, right? All this
hey,
stuff.
it looks like Rio joined us. Rio, are you there?
Yo.
Oh, badass, and you sound great too. Hang on a second. Hey, I was just telling Epic before he came on. I said you were my handler before Epic, and Epic was my handler now. So it was nice that you guys are gonna get a chance to meet. Hey, listen, I got some stuff to do before the show, so why don't you two hang out? Epic was just telling a story. He's over on the Big Island under the quarantine measures, and so he was telling people about what's happening over there on the Big Island. Go ahead, Rio, Epic Rio. It's so glad to have you guys all here at the same time, man. I can't tell you how happy I am. Okay, go ahead.
No, we talked on the reverse speech one. I called in on that show when you were doing the McDonald's.
Oh yeah.
Commercial.
Yeah, man. We know each other from the chat way
The
back
chat
when.
rooms, of course, too. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So that was interesting. That was an interesting commercial thing, actually, to find the McDonald's stuff that, not necessarily expecting to find anything and find it right away, right?
Well, I've looked into all that stuff like a lot, and it's pretty much in everything. Like it's just there. It's everywhere. Some of it, and I know some of it's intentional, especially like in advertising and music. It's definitely intentional. I even know how to do it myself if I really want to.
Well, after a while, you start trying to figure out how to do what they did, and some of it. So like the whole "Thank You Satan" thing from Obama, right? Being "Yes, we can." I mean, if that's a coincidence, it's a heck of a coincidence. I'm not accusing Obama of anything. I'm just saying that sounds really clear, right? and the ones that Manson did are just incredible. I mean, but he does it deliberately. He's speaking. You can tell he's speaking backwards forward. You know, he's speaking some language that isn't English, and then you play it backwards, and you know it's kind of backwards, right? And it is. And he says it with his perfect tone and everything. He has his inflection, the whole 9 yards. He has an accent. He has his like natural accent. He has that kind of Manson-esque way of speaking. He does it backwards as well as does forward. So it's pretty amazing. But the things that they program in there in the commercials are a whole other thing, because they make all those takes to get it just right.
Yeah, and they intentionally change a word here or there or whatever to actually make it happen the way they want it to. It's completely designed to be that way.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
I spent a lot of time in the music world, and believe me, it's no joke. They actually try to force it in there without it sounding obvious. You know, like if you listen to "Fire on High" by ELO, it's obviously just favorite. A backwards taped message that's put in there. But
music is reversible.
The hidden subliminal stuff is intentionally worked.
Do you guys want to get into a little bit of this stuff? Because I mean, I think there's, you know what, Hotel California is a real obvious one. Some of this we can start.
Stairway to Heaven. Yeah.
We could start.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any clips or anything pulled up at the moment, Jimmy. But
well, no,
we can just go off not only the memory of what we experienced, but like how it was at the time. Like at the time, it was kind of a social movement.
Let me see if I can.
A precursor to the Satanic Panic, right?
Hey, hang on a second. It's 10:49 right now. So in 10 minutes we're going to be live, and I won't be able to talk to you guys anymore. So just give me a second here. So Hotel California, it's backwards, should just come right up on YouTube. No, hang on. Let me check.
Yeah, it will.
It might be a good theme for the Halloween show, though, like the to lead in, right, to get there, because these were the precursors to the Satanic Panic that happened later on. People notice these backward masked things in music, and then later on.
And there's a new Satanic Panic going on now too. So now it's blood drinking, adrenochrome.
Adrenochrome. They did that in the Borat movie. Did you guys see that?
No, but John did a whole thing on adrenochrome, and it doesn't exist. It's not real. Hold on a second.
So hey Jimmy, where's the live YouTube stream? Is that on Into the Microcosm?
Yeah, it's Into the Microcosm with Jimmy Jean Strike Zone.
Strike Zone.
Yeah, you got to add Strike Zone. So hey, you know, Rio and I got our mic channel got blown out when we did that reverse speech on the McDonald's commercials. Because
I remember
we played a commercial. We played a commercial.
Actually, you know what? On this computer with the Skype on it, I should have all this stuff.
Really? Well, listen, I got Hotel California backwards, and I got a clip to play coming in. So I'm not going to dick around playing a bunch of shit. We're just going to get into the conversation, and I'll organically grab shit as we go. And if you find stuff as we're talking, just let me know. And, you know, if you can play it, you sound great. So everything sounds, you know, normal. Hang on a second. I got to play this real quick.
Well, just remember that the first minute and a half of that is going to be lead solo before the vocals actually kick in when it's in reverse.
I don't hear no vocals on this recording at all.
Well, that's because at the end of the song is the really long solo. You got to go like a minute and a half into it or so to get to the vocals.
So I'm at a minute 55 right now.
Maybe it's 2 minutes or
all right,
whatever.
All right, hang on. Let me go. Hang on a sec. Here we go.
That's the beginning of it. He is my Leviathan. That's right there where you just had that. If you get right to the very beginning, the very first verse says something about listen up, Christians. Hear the message from my master. He sings, my voice cries, and I am under the spell of it. That's the first verse.
Where is that? Is that coming up?
Right at the, because you're in reverse, right where the solo ends and the beginning of the vocals.
Hold on.
So it's the last verse of the song.
Am I close?
Let's see. It's like wherever the in the beginning the solo ends. So you want to be at like the 2-minute mark or give or take.
Okay,
right
hang
where
on,
the first,
hang on,
first verse.
All right, hang on.
Hear the thing now, Christian. That's it.
So it's coming up right there.
Yep. It's
all right.
That's really clear too. So that's a good one to use.
All right, cool. All right.
And of course, you know the Led Zeppelin one, right?
No, but I don't have time. We got 3 minutes. I got to get us hooked up into the network. So if you guys wouldn't mind muting up, I'll bring Rio. I'm gonna bring Epic in before I bring you in, and then so just stand by. Stand by. Mouse, man. All right, stand by.
Captain, we are being hailed.
On screen.
I'm challenging you tonight to plant a $1,000 seed. Now, you say, well, I don't have the $1,000 seed. Now,
on screen.
We are.
YouTube sounds.
Prop 21 is good for California.
Keep families in their homes. Vote.
That guy's an actor. Oh, really? Well, what are you, dude? You're an actor too, I think. Hold on. Oh yeah! You wanna find it? Come on, yeah! All right, we're about to go. We're about to go get hooked up, Sonny. So be ready. I'm not gonna dick around. I'm coming right in, getting right into the conversation. So be ready, you guys. Mute up if you wouldn't mind.
You got it.
Do blue moon, I saw you dancing alone. You put a nick in my heart. Hang on a second. Hang on. Studio. Oh, you prick. There we go. Studio. Come forth.
This is the people's war. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning! Warning!
We gotta stop them! They're gonna kill us all! See how the trouble you've started? Be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. Time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You called down the thunder, well now you got it. Right, you tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Revolution Radio.
Hello, my name is Mr. Rowe. I am the host of Reality Extraction, Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I utilize logic, intellect, and magic to methodically autonomize, vivisect, analyze, examine, study, scrutinize, and extract an essence of reality from a fog of illusion and confusion. You can find me on Studio B every Thursday, 1700 hours Pacific Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. No topic taboo, no subject too strange. I strive to take a neutral standpoint during the dissection of the topic at hand. That's Reality Extraction with Mr. Rowe on Revolution Radio.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio!
Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines,
Wind is blowing cold and dark on the road and no way out. Broken hearts, the smoking gun on the run.
Dang dang dang, ding a dong ding, blue moon, moon, blue moon, dip dip dip, moon, 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 blue moon, dip dip dip, moon, 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 blue moon, dip dip dip, bomb, dang dang dang, ding a dong ding, blue moon.
Captain, we are being hailed.
On screen.
I'm challenging you tonight to plant $1,000 seed. Now, you say, well, I don't have the cash. Put it on your credit card. That's what the Holy Spirit told her. And watch what God does. $1,000 gift. You say, well, that's a lot. I know it. It's a lot to her. But look what God has done for her as a result of her obedience. He's speaking to a lot of people tonight to sow $1,000. You can do it by a check, you can do it by a credit card, by a debit card, however you feel led. I prayed over this. I've laid my hands on it. This prayer cloth is dangerous to the devil. Now, if you'd like to receive one, you can. And I was challenging people to plant $1,000 seed. And she took that challenge that night. She planted $1,000 seed on her credit card. And since then, God has given her a new home, increased her finances, and her son got the Queen Elizabeth II scholarship as one of the Oscars.
Oh, yeah! My name's Jimmy. It's Friday night. You wanna find it? Come on, yeah! It's Revolution Radio. I'm on a plane with cocaine, and yes, I'm all lit up again. Cup of love and touch on. Your mama said back the lines to see on, and yes, I'm all lit up again. On the couch, in my bed, and yes, I'm all lit up again. Flying on, I love the cocaine, I love the cocaine. Mama can't wait. Epic Journeyman, are you there?
I am here.
Excellent.
Aloha from the Big Island.
All right. Well, so you're on the Big Island today. This week you're on the Big Island. Last week you're on Maui. I heard Maui's for lovers. You know, now you're over at the new suite. You got yourself a townhouse. Tomorrow's Halloween. Are you expecting any hot nurses or?
Maybe. Yeah, but hopefully it's not because I have to go to the hospital.
I know. Well, tonight. Tonight at midnight is going to be the 31st. It's going to be Halloween, and at midnight we got a very special chunk planned for everybody. Hi, my name's Jimmy. I'm your friendly narrator through the destruction known as 2020, and got the Epic Journeyman here, my sidekick. Some call him my handler. But ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what, I have some very, very exciting news tonight. And that is that my old handler is joining us. I couldn't be happier. This is the threesome I've waited for, the discussion that we need to have. Rio, rockin' Rio, are you there?
Hello.
Hey, Rio, man, good to have you, brother. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to be back on the microcosm, man. I've missed this so much.
I know. Well, we've missed you too, and apparently you've gotten small enough to get through the door. And Epic has been taking care of Zach Wilde at the end of the show, making sure he's got everything he needs when he comes out. Epic's kind of, taking care of some of your old responsibilities. So I'm glad that you're here, and I'm hoping that you're going to be coming back and hanging out with us some on Friday nights again, like you were, and like we've been planning on. So we've been over here at Revolution Radio for about a year now, a little over a year. So the show's changed a little bit. We don't go into the, as much detail on the front end of the 30 minutes as we used to. But why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself? You've been involved in the music business mostly your whole life. You're a musician just like Epic and myself. You're a guitar player. And, why don't you tell people just a little bit about yourself, Rio, before we get into the conversation?
Well, yeah, I mean, as far as, my life in the music world, I did a lot of sound work for a long time. Started that when I was probably around 13. I started working soundboards and whatever. And, I ended up doing some tours and, getting to travel and see the world a bit. So that was a lot of fun. I play a little bit, although not as much now as I used to. As time goes on, we all get a little older. Responsibilities and things kind of put a damper on all that now. But I work now restoring classic cars, so that's I get to drive every kind of hot rod you've ever dreamed of, and that's a lot of fun.
I know. Well, plus, you could tell people a little bit about you. A little bit about Richie Havens. You were super tight with Richie Havens. You were, with him quite a bit. He even discussed a few things with you personally. If you wanted to share that, with the audience tonight, it'd be great. And if you don't want to, that's fine. But talk a little bit about Richie, and I mean, you got the rights to Richie's music, don't you? Still?
No, not Richie's music. Richie. I actually worked with one of the guitar players that Richie worked with. So I was doing road management for a guy named Bill Perry, who was a great blues guitarist, and he's the one I traveled around the world quite a bit with.
Right, I got you.
And he worked with Richie a lot, so I got to meet Richie as as Bill's roadie kind of deal. And, but I got to spend a lot of time with Richie, and we kind of became like buds, hang out backstage and talk about stuff. And, he was a real cool dude, man. He was the biggest teddy bear ever. He loved everybody. I mean, guy was just genuinely full of love and happiness. And, he was one of the original hippies, man. I mean, the guy opened Woodstock. I mean, what more could you ask for?
I know. And, people, I mean, that was just an amazing performance. I mean, literally, when I won tickets down in Los Angeles when I was living down there from KLOS, I won tickets to the director's cut of the Woodstock when it was reissued. And I went there and I sat in the balcony in the Grauman's Chinese Theater there. I sat and watched in the balcony, and I swear to God, everybody and you guys and Rio, when he played that song "Freedom," I brought tears to my eyes. That performance, it's just so raw and just so. I mean, it's literally just the expression of freedom, man, in that moment, and just. So, I mean, do you want to share what he shared with you?
Well, yeah, I mean, and you know what you're saying about freedom there. Every show he did, right up until the end, that I did with him, he played that with the same passion. Like that song was so special to him as well. Like, he wouldn't sell it out for commercial use or anything. That was like his thing, and he held that very dear and performed it like Woodstock every night that he ever performed it. So. Yeah, I mean, actually, the cool thing about Richie's actually the guy who turned me on to the whole 9/11 thing. He was, obviously when that all went down, we spoke on the phone like that day or the next day, and he told me, man, we did this to ourselves. And at that point, I was like, come on, man, it's kind of a little crazy. He's like, no, man, I'm telling you, we did this to ourselves, and I'll tell you about it Friday. And that was all I got out of him. So, like, I had to wait, 2 weeks to talk to him about what he was talking about. But, he laid out what he thought. And, it turns out that I started digging and doing investigating on my own, trying to figure out what he was talking about. Because I thought he was crazy at first. I was like, man, some crazy guys with box cutters just, flew a plane into a tower. And he's like, no, man, we did this to ourselves. And he laid it out. And I was like, wow, And that's where I actually started, figuring out that the world is not what we think it is.
No, it certainly isn't what we think it is. And you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and go out on a limb, and let's check out some. I mean, this is. Let me just say this, YouTube, because I know you're scraping on me right now. So let me just say, this is the very definition of fair use. Okay. We just sat here talking about Richie Havens for 10 minutes. It's 11:11. Oh, my God.
Freedom, 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 freedom. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. A long way from my home, yeah, Lord. Singing freedom, 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 I'm almost gone. Sometimes
Man, it's hard to turn it off, but I must. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if there is a spectrum, that is on the far other side of the spectrum of the information that we're going to be getting into tonight. Right here on Into the Microcosm, Rockin' Rio is joining us. I would say I would classify you as a sound engineer. I would classify you, Rio, as an expert, in sound and engineering. Epic Journeyman, come on in. Let's get in here and let's start getting into some of this now. We've gotten into reverse speech. We've gotten into the organic style reverse speech, and Rio is very familiar with some of these reverse speeches because Rio did a bunch of work back in the day. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. But Epic, come on in. Freedom. This is the opposite end of the spectrum. There's nothing here but a man and a guitar and his emotion.
It's great to hear, isn't it? I mean, the opposite, the antithesis of all these people who sold out, as Rio said, it's good to hear somebody not sell out, right? Because you hear, there's nothing more depressing than hear go your own way, selling pharmaceuticals in a stupid jingle, or something like that. It's a sellout, right? I mean, I wouldn't expect to hear Pink Floyd or something do that, but you never know,
Well, the thing is,
it's good to hear people that stuck it out.
Yeah, and it's just like rap music. I mean, when you hear that song that you just mentioned, and you're going around dusting the furniture or whatever, and all of a sudden in the corner of your ear, you hear that song playing, and you look at the screen for a second because it brings back a memory to you, and in that second, that is when you are brought into the advertising by utilizing that flash of the memory. Rio and Epic. So this is a technique that's well worn and well used through hip hop. They use the hook or the most important part of a song to gain the recognition from the listener, and then they deliver the message around this hook. Either one of you two can come on in and expand on that.
Well, if you notice too, a lot of times when they do the commercials, they don't actually use the original song, and part of that is, they use a remake that may sound really close to the original because they do. They want to catch your attention with the song, but a lot of times they alter that just enough so that they can, put their product name in it, or get you to associate mentally, the happy feeling from the song with the drug they want to sell you, or the whatever the product is that they're trying to sell you. So that they create this mental association so that you relate their product to a good time or a good memory, and it tweaks in your subconscious. But they also use that for the hidden programming too, with the catchy jingles and that kind of stuff. We talked about the jingle, the commercial jingle where they everybody knows the song. Anybody who is alive in the late 80s and 90s knows the song about, selling hamburgers.
Yeah, well, we did a show about reverse. You ran a bunch of commercials backwards. We were just bullshitting one day, and I said, "Hey, man, has anybody ever ran commercials backwards?" And you're like, "I don't think so." And then you just came back later, and it was like the very first one you found. It was like instantaneous that in these McDonald's commercials they were running reverse messaging, having to do with the sun coming up over the arches. And I mean, then we found out that these McDonald's are placed in exactly these places where the sun actually does rise over every set of McDonald's arches. And it talked about that in the reverse stuff that you did it not?
So let Rio go in there. I did want to make a comment there because I started a documentary in Vegas.
Yeah, jump in.
And the thing is, the documentary was about it was about not just Masonic symbols, but about esoteric art. in Las Vegas and how these things play together. And there at the Golden Arches, there's only one arch at the Harrah's Casino on the Strip. It's not two arches; it's one arch, and it's across from a remake, the facade of the Babylon Gate, right? And that Babylon Gate is exactly 1 mile to the next McDonald's, where the sun actually does go down through the arches. It is a direct straight line between them, and it goes to Clock Tower at the Venetian next door, which was an angel on top of that. It's supposed to be like Apollo. So yeah, it's a trip. You know.
Well, I believe they have the same thing in St. Louis too, with the.
Yeah, they probably do. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a common theme.
Yep, with the giant arch in St. Louis, I think they have something similar to that.
Yeah, so it's prevalent. So there's a big difference between stuff that's planted there to be heard, that's played in reverse when something's played forward. There's a difference between that and what's called reverse speech in the sense of finding truth in dialogue. So truth in dialogue is found by having a congruency around the conversation being had going forward. So if I was saying, hey, my dog is black, he's a big black dog, hey, my dog is black, and then in reverse I would say something about my black dog, that would be called being congruent. And so in that context, that is how it's heard to be a mechanism for discerning the truth in a situation, kind of like a lie detector kind of thing, right? Go ahead, you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We all do it. I mean, if I played your introduction of me tonight backwards, I might be able to find it. You were happy to see me again, or something in there like that, because we all do it in speech. I mean, if you record what I'm saying right now and play it backwards, you'll probably find something that'll tip you off to whether I'm telling you the truth or not. So it's a natural organic thing. Our brains function in both directions. And, a lot of babies do it. A lot of the gobbledygook that babies spew out is actually reverse speech, and, that they're hungry or they want milk or whatever. So it does happen that way. And that's like true reverse speech, and it's just a human thing. But, and the intentional backmasking is when you just record a sound and play it backwards and hide it on the tape or make it part of the song. There's a lot of people that are famous for doing that. But then there's the part where it's intentionally, it's kind of both. Like they know about the reverse speech and they intentionally put it in there to program your subconscious, so that your brain still picks up on it and decodes it forward and back. That's why when you're having conversations with people, you can tell if they're telling you the truth or not. I mean, not only is it facial expressions and hand gestures and whatever else, but your brain also decodes, whether someone's feeding you a lie. And, that's because your brain does pick up on things in both directions. So it's a really fascinating topic, it is. And it's something I've gotten into a long time ago. And, we were talking before the show a little bit, and Epic had brought up the satanic panic of the, of the 80s. And that's actually where I started with, the backward messaging and the reverse speech, is because I listened to this guy who explained all the stuff that was in rock and roll, and I was like, wow, let me check that out.
You were interested in it way before you were 9/11 conspiracy theorist. You were an engineer. You were into music. You found out about it, and you were already sussing it out, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, as far as that stuff goes, yeah, I learned probably. I don't know. I was young. I mean, I was probably 10, 11, 12 when I first heard that stuff. And obviously we didn't have the computer tech at the time where, like now I could just, put in a thing and flip it into a software and flip it backwards and listen to it and slow it down and whatever. But the way they used to do it back then is play the record backwards, put your neat finger on the turntable and spin the record backwards. Or I actually had a tape player, that had forward and reverse, and the reverse button had broke, so it wouldn't switch the head, and it would actually play tapes backwards. And that was kind of like where I got my start into the whole is there really hidden messages in the music. And you wouldn't believe, pretty much, I would say pretty much every rock and pop song from at least the 60s and 70s up has not everyone, maybe 80% or whatever, But I mean, I've done, I've gone all the way back to Robert Johnson in the early days of blues, and some of those early recordings, and there's hidden messages in there too, So it's pretty amazing.
Get out of here, man.
Yeah,
You're telling me
Robert Johnson is, when if you listen to the live version of Crossroads, yes, he does actually admit selling his soul to the devil backwards in Crossroads.
Get out of here. Well, listen, we're coming up on the break in about a couple minutes here. We got about 4 minutes before the break. Epic, jump in here. We're going to head out to the break.
I just want to say that, I found it the same way. Like, I'd heard about the Paul is Dead thing when I was, I just started learning about rock and roll. I mean, really liking it, listening to it when I was probably 10, 11. I mean, I'd liked it on the radio and stuff before, but as far as buying my own music or playing an album. And back then you had the cheap stereograph kind of things where you could spin the turntable backwards, which is how we all kind of did it, try to get the speed right. And by the time I was a teenager, by about 14, I got really into spinning some of those things backwards because you found that messages on Fire on High from ELO and some things we get into. And of course, Led Zeppelin came out. And that one was weird to me because I woke up, I heard it backwards while I was sleeping. And my subconscious actually put it in my dream, and it horrified me. And I woke up, and as I woke up, I heard it flip around forward. And then I went and played it backwards, and it's like, yeah, man, that is absolutely a satanic thing, 100%.
All right,
play it backwards.
All right. Well, speaking of Satan, here's one of the greatest hits from. This is actual reverse speech, ladies and gentlemen. Greatest hits.
The other side has promised to roll back health reform so that insurance companies can go back to denying you coverage because you're sick. They want to roll back Wall Street reform so that taxpayers are on the hook for Wall Street bailouts. And credit card companies can hit you with hidden fees and penalties. And if they win in Congress, they will cut AIDS funding right here in the United States of America.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen, rolled out once again, Satan. For some reason, that didn't play there, but we will, when we come back, have this greatest hits for you, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Jimmy. It's Barack Obama, Satan himself, coming out once again, saying, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can, Epic. Yes, we can, Rio. We got about 2 minutes before the break. Come on in.
Yeah, I mean, that's a classic reverse speech. But and the one thing I do want to bring in real quick is, if you remember the last election with Hillary and Trump, there was tons of reverse speech that you could find on YouTube about the debates and whatever. This time around, there's nothing. They're like, they've shut that part off. Like, you can't find anything. I mean, I've done a little myself, but they've not put anything out about any of that this time around.
No.
It's kind of interesting.
It is interesting, and the thing is because Epic and I found something on that Trump when he got out of the hospital. When he got out of the hospital and he started saying all that stuff, there's stuff in there. We could talk about it, but it wasn't very definitive, and it really, we did a test on the YouTube to see if people could hear it, and nobody could. And we didn't have time because I pressured Epic. We were trying to get it done, and I made him. I was going, come on, man. They're waiting for us or whatever. We're going to be right back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jimmy, and in the Microcosm Revolution. ReadyFreedomSlips.com. Stick around. We'll see you on the other side. Okay, we're clear from YouTube. Man, that jammed me up. I was going to play the Yes We Can, and I got screwed. Played the wrong thing.
Yeah, I know that's what you're shooting for, yeah.
But anyways, it doesn't matter because there's so many conservatives on that station. Calling him Satan and playing that shit was probably perfect. I'm probably antagonized some motherfucker. All right, hold on. Let me make sure this is the right one. Hold on. I don't hear shit.
Yes, we can.
There we go.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Oh, man, this guy's showing you the video, and he's doing the whole fucking...
I hate when they do that stuff. Yeah, just get to the point on that kind of stuff. It's right there.
Come on, dude.
I mean, it's right there. You know
Why
what I
the
mean?
whole production? And I don't hear shite. Oh, man.
Yeah, on the YouTube, yeah, we had half the guys were better.
Dude, for
hear
some
this
reason,
stuff on Trump,
for
but
some
it was,
reason, hey, for some reason, yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
For some
Yes, we
reason,
can.
yes, we can. Thank you,
Thank you,
Satan.
say.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you, say. Thank you, say.
Hold on.
Yes, we can. Yes, we.
All right. I was just about to say, for some reason, thank you, Satan. Yes, you can doesn't exist on the internet anymore.
I wouldn't be surprised though, man. It scrubs so much stuff these days. Yeah, I'll be right back. I'll go run and grab a drink real quick.
Yeah, hey, dude, I want you to start jumping in here more. So get in here with us and with Rio. So Rio, man, good to have you back, bro.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Hey, I have the soundtracks here. You want to see if they play?
Yeah, play one. We got about a minute. Go ahead.
Woke up, New York City, in a funky cheap hotel. She took my heart and she took my money. She must have slipped me a sleeping pill.
Did you hear that?
I could hear it going backwards, but I heard Living La Vida Loca going forwards too.
Yeah, I had 2 tracks running there.
No problem. I could hear it though, and I could hear it louder than shit. But give me when you start it. If you're gonna play something, I need to try to get it together because if I EQ it right, you'll be able to hear it better. So if I get a lot of mids or get some bass off of whatever you've got going on over there, just take some bass out, put some mids on, whatever it is. Okay, hang on, we got to go back. I don't even have no music. Hang on, we got to go. Okay.
Yeah, that's the fire on high.
All right, mute up, everybody. Here we go. I got to go back. All right, here we go. Hey, YouTube. Sorry, I'm super busy and I can't hang with you guys right in this minute, but give me a second and I will. As soon as Epic gets rolling, then I can hang with you guys. Epic and Rhea get rolling here. Here we go. Ready?
It's too late to fall in love with Sharon Tate. But it's too soon to ask me for the words I want called on my tune. I think it's time that y'all start to think about getting by without that need to go out and find somebody to love.
My name's Jimmy. It's Revolution Radio. All right. Well, here it is, like I promised. Here you go.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Thank you, say. Thank you, say. Thank you, say. Thank you, say.
Goliath.
Epic Journeyman. Are you there?
I am.
Excellent.
Yeah, I was thinking about that whole. We're talking about how the Satanic Panic came along, related to this backward masking, this backmasking on the records, especially 45s. You can spin them back. People, it's cheaper back in the day to spend $1 buying the album for $6, right, back in the day. And Hotel California was a big one because it was rumored to say "I love Satan" in part of it. I spun it backward. I ended up breaking my 45. I mean, I was pissed off about it, because I loved the album. I loved the song. I didn't have the album yet. I loved the song, and it turned out a lot of songs from the 70s had that kind of thing on them. So, how far back did it go? Well, now we're saying it goes back all the way to the Crossroads, right? So, I'm curious how many others, jingle kind of songs from way back, 50s, 60s, 40s, had that in them, because it probably did. So what would you think, Rio? How many did you find going back that far?
The interesting. I'll hit a couple of these. The interesting thing about Hotel California is pretty much the entire song is a backwards message. There's so many things in that, and Jimmy's actually got a clip that he might play.
Yeah, I have it here. So when you get done talking about it, I'll try to bring it in.
But and we talked about the hamburger place. Everybody remembers "It's a Good Time for the Great Taste," and that when you played it backwards, it said "Tell your mom to buy you a burger" kind of thing, and it's in everything. I mean, it's everywhere. And I'm sure that the advertisement is definitely much more intentional than the musicians who, maybe just singing backwards, through their subconscious or through, some spiritual force that helped them write the song, or however you want to look at that. It's weird. I mean, because somebody figured out, that we do this organically, and, and there's obviously, there is a you call it a spiritual side to it, because I mean, even go back to Anton LaVey and Aleister Crowley, and they both had topics of, when you want to blaspheme the Lord, you speak backwards, you write backwards, you think backwards, and do everything in reverse. So, people who tend to follow those lines, tend to study that and practice it. I mean, you can look on YouTube. There's guys who to this day, have videos of them speaking backwards at people, like, very well and very clearly. So it's, there is an art to it as well. It's all over the place.
Yeah, that was one of the things that happened. Epic Journeyman and I, we were watching a Manson video, and we noticed that there's something going on with my thing here. Anyway, we noticed Manson talking in forwards, backwards, and then we did reverse speech on the backwards. What did he say, Epic? I couldn't remember today for the life of me. What did he say? Because I can't play it right this second. I'm trying to dig up this Hotel California.
Yeah, he does a couple things. He goes, he does some clicks. He actually cues you in that he's going to do it first. We actually just play the full interview. We only played the part that was in the 10 wildest or craziest things that Manson ever said video. But you go back and play the original MSNBC video from 1986. He goes, the gods must be crazy, that kind of clicking thing, right? He does that to clue you in. He's about to do it. So the first time he does it, he goes, "Let me ask you a question." It's perfect, too. It's perfect, right? But the ones we picked on afterwards were the ones that came after that. And he goes, "She's going to forget to say I didn't do it. It's a scam, right? Ask her again if I was mind-controlled LSD. Clear as day." I mean, clear as day. So when I first recorded it on my YouTube channel, I did it with the iPad, because I didn't have the program that would play it backwards. I just had Camtasia at the time, so I wasn't able to perfectly play it back. When you go back and play the actual recording, yeah, it's clear as day. There's no doubt about what he's saying. He says it with his accent too. It's not like something that's just you play some of these things backwards and it's obviously being played backwards, and there's some other syllables that don't sound right. The tone and inflection of his voice is in it. I mean, it's absolutely there, because he's deliberately speaking backwards. He's doing it perfectly. Susan Atkins does it too. I'd like to get some of her clips. I don't have any saved, but she does a couple too where she sounds like a little girl, and it's trippy as all heck. And she was a priestess at the Church of Satan, so I mean, this is not somebody who is naive to this. She was trained just as Manson was before she ever came into this. And it does go into things like Thelema and the Ordo Templarius, and I pronounced that wrong, but Aleister Crowley's stuff. I mean, absolutely.
Well, I wanted to bring up Rio. You noticed something about doing the reverse speech in just about everything that you looked at, and organically speaking, people seem to reveal themselves quite a bit. And you notice that when someone stutters in a certain way or has a problem going forward, that there's some idiosyncrasy about the way they're saying what they're saying that actually cued you into places to look for reverse speech coming out naturally. Now, go into that, but I want to talk about people talking in reverse for magic epic.
Yeah, actually, I did come across that, and like Epic was saying, one of the reasons that music is a great place to hide the reverse speech is because you can change the inflection and you can alter the words to fit the music, and people who are really proficient at it, sometimes those garbled lyrics that you're not really sure what the guy said. It could be this or it could be that. That's right, exactly where the hidden message is. And the one thing I found, I won't mention names, but I was on a show with another radio host, and I said something that kind of tripped them up and made them laugh and whatever. And they stuttered and busted out laughing, and then said something. And when I played that backwards, the actual phrase was, "Rio, why you heckle us?" So it was, it was actually pretty interesting that it was directed right at me.
Yeah, that is interesting. Epic Journeyman, jump on in here now, because there's a satanic panic that's going on, as we speak today. But we're not going to be talking about that one. But what about Anton LaVey? I mean, what about the Church of Satan down there in Southern California? What about, he seems to be intertwined into just about everything. You have this inference that he, casts some dark magic upon Jane Mansfield, and she was decapitated with her husband or whatever boyfriend in a car accident. Why don't you go into a little bit about Anton LaVey as we're getting up here towards the midnight hour?
Yeah, we're getting close to the midnight hour for All Hallows Day, so it's appropriate. He started in San Francisco, actually, in the Bay Area connection. We talk about that a lot, and sure enough, there he is, right? And he he was kind of a performance artist guy originally. He wanted to be more of an artist originally. That's what he claims, right? Oh, I'm just being an artist, and I'm just, saying, using logic instead of religion and blah, blah, blah. But then you find out, if you study a little bit about it, that the ultimate goal of Satanism is to tell the perfect lie, right? So if everything they say is a lie, that's the goal, then that's obviously not the case, right? And then you find out more and more about it, and how much that he really did tie in all the things from Aleister Crowley and other people before him into these magic rituals. And his even his kids thought he was kind of a fraud, to a certain extent. And he was kind of a pimp for some of these Hollywood stars who were into the sex orgies for the Satanism, the sexy Satanism they called it at the time. But the people he brought in, people like Liberace, ironically, and Sammy Davis Jr. and Jane Mansfield, and the list goes on and on. A number of these Rat Pack people on the periphery. It's just phenomenal for some guy who just started this crackpot religion, off the cuff, supposedly, in 60s San Francisco. And what's really bizarre is that the Process Church set up basically across the street, 2 blocks away, at exactly the time that Charlie Manson gets out of jail, right? Meets both people from both places, and they follow him specifically, or he follows them down to Los Angeles. The same group of people end up in the same place. So I don't think it's a coincidence personally, and we've talked a little bit about how he's supposed to end up. I don't get too far from LaVey, but people like Roman Polanski, and it ties into Hugh Hefner and Sharon Tate and all these other people that end up at the Playboy Mansion down in Los Angeles, and they have this Church of Satan connection. That's where I was going to kind of go with this. Is that once the movement kind of moves south, the people who move south with it are all these Hollywood stars, basically, directors and producers and whatnot.
The thing is, from a recruitment perspective, some of these names, some of these bigger names that come in and are associated with it, gives the impression that for whatever reason, you being associated with the Church of Satan may have some effect on your career in a positive way. So you're making that deal with the devil that Rio was.
It's Rosemary's Baby. Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly the plot, right? The actor becomes famous and gets his gig because he joins Church of Satan, right? And of course, that's taking place in New York, but that is the exact premise of the movie, right? And then, no coincidence, Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate end up, major party goers showing up all the time at the Playboy Mansion. And this is where a lot of these people came together, is at the Playboy Mansion, going all the way back to originally coming from Chicago, Playboy After Dark, when in Playboy Penthouse, they called it, these TV shows. But they would come together and join. There were people like Sammy Davis Jr. and Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby factors into this in a big way as well. We'll get into that a little bit probably later. But yeah, I mean, all these people, and there's always these inferences and references to witchcraft. You even play the song Witchcraft. It's like the song to play all the time, right? I mean, going all the way back to Chicago.
What was
it's on the piano.
Tell everybody what the name of the movie was. Now, Sharon Tate was Roman Polanski's main squeeze. Okay, but they were open. This was
he stole her from Jason Bring, right?
Right, and this is the thing, is that the sexual revolution had already sort of taken place. But it got more, it was free love back then. But then it turned into the sexual revolution. The battle of the sexes, Billie Jean King against, Bobby, whatever the hell his name was. It became this whole other thing. And sex became like an industry almost. And Playboy was behind most of that. They were instrumental in the sexual revolution that took place, were they not?
I would say beyond instrumental. They were the key instrument. They literally were. I mean, going back to when, for $600, Hugh Hefner supposedly starts Playboy magazine, finding an old nude photo shoot of Marilyn Monroe without her permission, and puts it in the magazine for the premiere issue. He borrows more money along the way. It ends up being, I think, $8,000 total, which is just $60,000 in today's money. But still manages to launch this magazine successfully, get 50,000 issues on the first issue into the public, and then launches this empire. It's a totally improbable story. Because
it's just as improbable as some of these dudes breaking away from the PhD program at Stanford and starting the largest tech companies in the history of mankind. It's just about as improbable as some of that shit, right? Rio, jump on in here, man. If you could, come on in, Epic. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to step on you.
Yeah,
Rio get in here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I'm right along with what Epic's saying. That's where a lot of it started. The whole hippie movement thing. Obviously the whole Laurel Canyon connection too. From what I've discovered in music, a lot of the stuff was more organic in the beginning, but it was the whole probably Tavistock and Laurel Canyon is where the real mind control part of the music business started coming into effect. So you had the sex industry, you had the music industry, and these people are all tied together through this witchcraft. Basically, is what they were doing. And you can even listen now. You got Katy Perry out there telling you how she sold her soul to the devil because she wanted to be successful. She tried to be a Christian and like Amy Grant, but it didn't work out. So she wanted money, so she sold her soul to the devil. All these people are all tied together through that, and that is what their common thread is they're all into the witchcraft, and they're all into the Satanism, and they're all into however you want to call it. They're all into the evil side of things, and they do it for the money.
All the successful artists are. Some of the
right.
some of the more unsuccessful artists don't or aren't. So what is that to say? I mean, if you're role modeling, okay, so the 60s, you know, the Laurel Canyon aspect of what went on in the 60s was the role modeling and the soundtracking, all right, and the repetitive drumming of a certain ideology across all forms of media at that point. So once the hippie movement was killed with the Manson killings and everything, and it moved into a more consumer-based social engineering, that, you know, he was selling magazines, he was putting forward a certain risque attitude. Was he not, Epic? Come on in and really do justice to this, because
So I think what we found was, and it's there. It's not like this is hidden. It is there. I mean, if you want to look, it is there. Just nobody's ever really, I won't say nobody, but a lot of people, they don't put it together. Like, a lot of people go to Tavistock, and that's there. You know, that's absolutely there. And a lot of people go to some of the stuff that went on Harvard, the original Timothy Leary LSD experiments, and that's there. That kind of thing. But it really does go through Stanford. It does. And so when it goes there to the Bay Area, it's not just Stanford, it's Berkeley and all the kind of hippie revolution things that happened. We call that in the Bay Area. But prior to that, it was artists and writers and poets. There were these people that they met up there. A lot of them met up in the Bay Area, no joke, right? And they left the Bay Area to go to Paris, and they started this other division, if you want to call it that, called they nicknamed it the Beatnik Hotel in the Beatnik movement. And they started all these philosophies and wrote all these poems and wrote all these books that were controversial, you know, Allen Ginsberg and William S. Burroughs, and just all these people. They all lived in the same place, the same complex. Now, tell me that's not some operation, because obviously it is, right? But that's the remote operation. You know who joined them? Who joined them over there? Maybe we should save that for the Halloween hour. We'll save that. Somebody's mother went over there. It's really interesting. But so we'll save that for Halloween. So it's actually midnight. How much time we got? Not too much.
They were doing these ceremonies.
Yes.
They were contacting the Nine. They were doing a lot. There's a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of magic in their hills, and I'm talking about the Oakland Hills. I'm talking about Oakland, California.
Oakland, big time. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you know, and I think that I almost forgot to bring it up, and it's important to bring up, is what Hefner did was what's powerful. The most powerful things in human life are the procreation principle, right? The desire to procreate, sex, right? So sex is super powerful. And then magic, right? And magic is, you can term it any way you want to, but it's this otherness that you can't quite understand. You're trying to rein in with your power of intention, power that you don't really understand, right? But when you combine that with sex, it becomes sex magic. And that's what Crowley was all about. So in a way, what happened was these magical principles were weaponized in the 60s and 70s. They learned about them from intelligence operations in the 50s, but then they thought, well, why not, use them? I mean, we don't know if they're true or not, but if people believe in it, why not? We'll try it. And so people like Alan Dulles in the CIA, or people over in Europe and MK5 and Tavistock and everywhere else, started really looking at that as something that they could use as a tool. And they did. And Playboy is a big part of this. It really is. And you can tell the Cultural Revolution in the United States, we look back at it this way, and it spread around the world. You can call it the British invasion, come over from Tavistock originally, in music. And then you can look at it over here and say the sexual revolution started here in a way that was just had never been done before, right? And it was aided by the benefit of the combination, the music, the sex, and the magic, all three put together and weaponized as a product.
In a commercialized way, where they basically had a nighttime television show. And listen, and so they cross-pollinate each other and legitimize each other by having stars show up at the Playboy Mansion. Like, the hippest, coolest place to be on Earth is at one of those grotto parties. But the fact of the matter is, man, that was Epstein before there was an Epstein. I mean, if there was ever a model for getting people in compromising situations in rooms that have been pre-wired There's tunnels, epic. Tell people about the tunnels going out of the Playboy Mansion and going over to certain people's houses, the blueprints that you found that were reportedly, allegedly.
It's urban legend. They say it's not really the urban legend. It's considered urban legend now. But in March of, I believe it's 1986, they were doing this work at the Playboy Mansion. And this guy is going down there digging around, putting some new pipework in or whatever. And the guy who's the resident architect for the Playboy property is overseeing the stuff. And he goes, as they're digging, he says, "Hey, man, I found this tunnel or something down here." "Oh, yeah, well, that's part of the remnants of the tunnels from the 60s. That's probably what you found, right?" And so he takes them in and brings out these prints, supposedly prints from that era, showing these tunnels going to Jack Nicholson's house. I'm sorry, Steve McQueen, Warren Beatty, and James Caan, right? So these tunnels go to their houses, actors there near the Playboy Mansion, where they can come in and out without being seen, or leave the mansion unseen and go back to their house. And they look like real prints. Now, mind you, this is late March. It's before April Fool's Day. It's close enough. It's within a week of April Fool's Day, but this is printed in magazines a week before April Fool's Day. And there's some controversy to this day. Was it an April Fool's joke that got launched too soon? It seems a little early, man. It does, but who knows? Nobody's ever been able to verify it, so I don't know. But I'd sure love to get some deep imaging radar and go check it out.
Well, the social engineering that was happening in the 70s, and when the Eagles were coming to town, Rio, jump in here. And Hotel California was a big commercial success, but it was also social engineering in the sense that it got people wanting to come to California for whatever reason. Rio, tell people, we got 2 minutes before the break. What does it say in reverse in that song, Hotel California? Go ahead, tell people.
Well, I mean, there's that whole song is basically continuously backward messages. But the clip that I got you to have there is it says something to the effect of like, "Hear now, Christian. Hear the message from my master. He sings, my voice cries, and I am under the spell of it." And that's the very last verse, right before the solo, if you play that section backwards. And, it goes on to say other things like, "He is my Leviathan." And there is a couple other things about Jesus in there. And I actually do somewhere, I'd have to dig it up, but I actually do have the entire song written out backwards as to what the translation would be. And there's just tons of messages in it. And, interestingly, it is one of the most popular songs of all time.
I know. And the thing is it ties right into what we're talking about, because the sexual revolution was going on. The hippies were gone, and now it was the new enlightened, sexually active young people that were being led along by a shepherd in wolf's clothing or whatever, in sheep's clothing.
Well, I mean,
goat's clothing. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, even if you listen to the song forwards and listen for the indications, there's candles lit, there's bells ringing, there's we haven't had that spirit here since 1969. It's all in the lyrics.
Steely knives.
That's all witchcraft references. Everybody's like, "Oh, we don't really know what the song means. It's just a journey. It's just a story about a guy in the desert." But if you really pay attention to the symbolism, it's talking about it all the way forward too.
We're going to break. We'll be right back. Okay, we're gone. We're gone. For some reason, I gotta hold this button down on my board. My other channel blew out. I moved my mic to a different channel. Now this channel's going out. So, anyway, hey, yeah. So we're gonna come back and start getting into the psycho sex bunnies, the hypnotism, the LSD, the Roman Polanski sex parties. The California lifestyle, you know what I'm saying? They were selling it, and Anton LaVey's in there, Michael Aquino's in there. Everybody's in there, man. They're all in.
Well, everybody's in there, yeah, definitely. And you know, the Altamont thing we're going to bring up, Altamont rather. You know, the data that's pretty significant in a way. I mean, I don't know how significant, but it is 12-6. So 2 6s and 6, 666, and it's 1969. So yeah, I mean, it is not even mentioning the celestial things that you mentioned before, just numerically, it's interesting. And the guys who were there, I mean, it has all the hallmarks of a ritual all the way. It does.
Yeah, the killing of the hippie movement, but the moving into the commercialization of the pleasure seeking, the having sex, because you don't have to worry about it anymore, because you can just go get an abortion. I mean, they didn't talk nothing about no condoms back then.
Right. And Gloria Steinem ended up being a CIA operative.
All right.
That's legit. That's so, open source now.
Let's go there.
Yeah.
Let's go there. So
yeah.
bring that up.
I'm sorry. I don't know how I sound. I sound kind of nasally because I'm having some nasal issues right now apparently.
No.
And I'm on this Bluetooth headset, so I can't really tell how I sound. I apologize.
You sound fine.
Funky.
Rio sounds like he's got a big giant pair of balls though. Rio's super bass.
Yeah, baby.
All right, so listen, hey, when we come back, I'm not gonna dick around, man. I'm just gonna play a little bit of music. I'm gonna come in and let's just get right into it because we only got 60 minutes left. And there's a lot of shit to get into. So we got a full house. We still got 30 people in that chat room over there. I'll probably shout them out when we come back. And we got a bunch of people over here. Danny Titles over here. Rusty Sword. Who else is over there? Hey, Kenny. It's Evil Man. Illum Kanadi's over there, bro. All right, we got to go back.
Check it out.
My name's Jimmy.
Caressing your back with just the chest, she kissing on my freckles. I nibble around your ears before I suck upon your neck. Oh, money be. Yeah, that's what you'll be screaming and creaming. But it's not a wet drink, it's the real, the freaky dog, Doc Nasty. Never letting the kitty cat get past me without picking it up. Head
Friday night. Got a brand new kit on. Sitting here with Rockin' Rio, rocking the house once again on Into the Microcosm. The epic journeyman. It's Revolution.Radio, freedomslips.com. 25 people in the chat room swinging from the rafters, smoking weed like it's going out of style on the California side. Stardust Man, Troy Boy, Surrey Sunflower, In the Kitchen, Tones, Comet, Train, Rudolph, Sammy, Eagle Flower, Flippy, The Juris, LB, Maced, 139, Bates, Batsman, Loose Titania, Not Much to It, Boy Solomon, Wall E, Jer Bear, Popsicle Toes, Noreen, Spread Love, 9. I can't see the rest of that number. Mr. Rowe and Dirt Engineer. Over at YouTube, Danny, Rusty Sword, Epic Journeyman, Bernays Sauce, Danny Title, The Evil One, the Illuminati is over there. What's up, Kenny? It's Evil Man. All right, Epic Journeyman, are you there?
I am here. I'm here.
Excellent.
Yeah, this is an interesting subject. I mean, always we talk about it a lot, but today is All Hallows Eve, so it's officially Halloween now, right? Pretty much everywhere. So, well, not here yet. Actually, I'm on the Big Island, so it's not Halloween for another couple hours. But I got the Menahoonies over here, keep me company.
Yeah, it's Halloween for Jimmy, and you're still there yet, but over here in the eastern side of the country, it is now the witching hour. It's 3 a.m.
Very nice.
We just conjured up some spirits with that tonal coming in, that Egyptian tonal. We just opened up the doorway into your mind, ladies and gentlemen. Open your mind and let the microcosmic influence come into your third eye through the porthole known as Freedom Slips Zaka. Revolution.Radio. Revolution.Radio is gone. We're back to freedomslips.com. The archives are free. Become a patron. Come on down. The guitar case is open. You got 3 musicians over here. You know, I can play guitar, but not as good as these 2 guys. I'll just sit in on bass or drums, and you guys can have at it. But in the meantime, the empty guitar case is sitting there open over at Patreon. Become a patron. Because you've been sponsoring, the management has decided to let those archives remain free. Rev Radio is the username. Rocks! Exclamation point is the password. My name's Jimmy. It's always 420. But right now, Epic Journeyman, Rockin' Rio. We're about to get into the mind control and sex bunnies coming out of the Playboy Mansion. These people were trained operators, and there's no question, you know, if you're some dork and you're at one of those parties and some hot chick comes up to you and is interested in what you're saying and laughing at all your jokes, chances are she's not who you think she is she, Epic?
You're being recruited. Yeah. You know, I mean, the thing about that is you're going to find out if you look into the original first Playmates, they all had one thing in common other than their knocking, you know, knocking out bodies that would attract the guy, right? No, they're also super intelligent, high IQ. Marilyn Monroe, high IQ. Jane Mansfield, high IQ. Barbie Benton, high IQ, right? All high IQ. Now, you ask yourself, other than something like meeting people at the Playboy Mansion, being a meet and greet popular person, it doesn't really equate that well to that kind of intellect. We're talking super high IQ people here. Well, where in the world, rather, do we want high IQ people? We want high IQ people in intelligence work, don't we? We want high IQ people recruiting people and looking for people that they can use for other tools in their operation. And that is exactly what was going on there. And in the case of Jane Mansfield, that was really the first one where they deployed her.
Well,
she was go ahead.
No, I was going to mention Marilyn Monroe. She's sleeping with John F. Kennedy. I just want to point out.
And Bobby Kennedy, yeah.
Right, and I want to point out. I mean, Bobby Kennedy had dinner with Roman Polanski and what's his nuts, the guy from.
John Frankenheimer.
Yeah, Frankenheimer. The night before he was
directed
shot.
The Manchurian Candidate, yeah.
Right, and so, and these guys were into like kinky sex parties going on over at Polanski's house. That's like the after party, where the after party was. But the point is that I want to point out. Look at Pamela Anderson. Pamela Anderson was with that dude, that black dude, the basketball player who went over to North Korea. Pamela Anderson was over there.
Dennis Rodman, along with Madonna, who was also in Playboy. That's right.
That's right.
Pamela Anderson.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And also, she was over there talking
Julian
to
Assange.
Exactly.
She's a career for Julian Assange.
Exactly.
Pamela Anderson.
Exactly. Come on in here, Rio.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the girls and the rock and roll kind of go hand in hand. That's like that was the big thing too in the '80s, and that's when the debauchery and the lifestyle change was like occurring. The '80s was all about partying, all about having the big party at the mansion with the hot chicks and the fast cars, and and that was used for the appeal of it, and that was how to draw people in, and all those people were definitely super intelligent, and a lot of them were there for recruiting. I mean, I was approached at a couple points in the past, about not being recruited into the alphabet stuff, but because I like the stuff we were talking about before, I know how to do the sound engineering, and I didn't want nothing to do with it because there were some pretty dark things involved with doing some of that, and people don't realize how deep that really goes throughout all of those industries.
Well, the thing is that you also see that there's a complete and total control mechanism over who was doing the role modeling. So at these points in time, and this is before the internet, when the only people you saw were the people that got through the gate, the only people that got through the gate, man, they did the deed or whatever.
Exactly.
You don't look, the bottom line is, man, you don't get the deal or whatever. You're never going to be seen on a movie ever unless you're in the right circles going and you have the right management and the right agent and the right manager. You're going nowhere.
Well, that's how the whole thing works is, you can be successful. You can have $100,000 a year job. You can make $250 a year, $300,000 a year, whatever. They don't care about you. But if you look at all the big celebrities and the superstars, if you want to be in the $10 million club, you have to sell. That's just the way it is. If you don't, you will never, ever get there.
So epic. Back to the Playboy Mansion. Now, the Playboy Mansion was big in the 80s. The Playboy Mansion's always been big. Going to a party at the Playboy Mansion is just about, it's just like Howard Stern promoting anal sex. It's like, or women with women. It's become every man's fantasy to be at the party at the Playboy Mansion. Because it's been promoted in such a way that it's, done over and over again, that's the place to be if you're on the in crowd, right? If you're in the in crowd, where do you got to go? You're going to that party, man. And when you're at that party, where's the best place to be? In the grotto, huh? Everybody wants to be all up in the grotto, don't they?
Well, that's right. And a lot went into that. So you have the meet and greet session. You have the people who are given the invites out on the street, which that happened, right? And then there's the people who are invited that are already celebrities. So it's this mixed match or mixed mash, I guess is the word I was looking for, of cultures, right, that come together there. And in the 70s, in the late 60s, it was really kind of unique, right? And it got more A-list, I guess, as it got older, into more recent times. But back in the heyday of both the psychological operation and the sex magic we were talking about earlier, where it really was something in operation, I would say the heyday was the 60s and 70s, really the 70s. But the 60s is when it started. And yeah, people could, you could be walking down the street one day and you just happen to be a guy named Sirhan and get invited over there, Not saying he did, but I haven't found proof of him. He did show up at the Polanski's house. But, we need to talk about the Polanski's house also, because it wasn't Polanski's house. He was renting that house from a guy named Terry Melcher. And Terry Melcher was Doris Day's son. And he lived there with Candice Bergen and Hal Lindsey. Hal Lindsey was a musician who wrote a performing musician, I guess you call him. He sung the song Arizona, his main hit. Might have heard the song, but he was hooked up with Candice Bergen, and so him and Terry Melcher lived there. And Charlie Manson used to come visit them all the time. They were there all the time, right? So when Charlie Manson showed up at that house when Polanski moved in, it's because he was looking for Terry Melcher, right? So, but these Terry Melcher and Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate hung out at the Playboy Mansion. We have video of that, so we're able to show the connection to how these people ran into circles that are really tight circles. And for the Process Church, and since it's Halloween, we get into the scary stuff, moving in next door with their dogs, right? The dogs are infamous here next door to Roman Polanski. That's when the shit started hitting the fan, pardon the French, but it's late, so we can say that. We can use a little more adult language, I guess, now. That's when it really started to happen. That was when things went dark. Things went dark when the Process came, because they were the enforcers on this one. Right, so it's all fun and games until the Process Church showed up in this case. So how involved were they really, and what were they really up to, and who was involved with them, and how involved were they from the get-go with Charlie Manson? Those are big questions, and there's a lot of answers I think we found along the way that show how involved they were, and were meant to be all along.
And Charlie, Charlie was definitely piping in some underage hippies.
I'm sorry, I think I let you guys hang in there. So we have talked about it before. And I don't know which direction we want to go from.
No, I was going to say, so Charlie was piping in some underage hippie chicks. He was feeding chicks with the right attitudes into some of these parties. And so when they're having these parties over here at the mansion, what they do is, when you get the invite, that's just the masses. Okay, but you don't get to the back room or the grotto unless you get the second invite. And then you get that second invite, and you're in a second group where they have literally these people, these hot chicks that were in there. They were never just looking for operators. They were operators when they were there. They were already operators, and it didn't become popular or to be seen naked in Playboy until later on. In the beginning, it was if you were a model showing your full naked body, it's not something that was respected in normal population in the World War II crowd. Okay, this is the 60s crowd. This is 1969 going into the 70s. This is when people were really swinging, man. They were swingers, and they were doing drugs, and they were just getting down and bowing down and worshiping Satan like it's going out of style, and having sex. Because part of the reason for becoming a Satanist down there for a lot of people was the idea there was going to be a bunch of nubile sex kittens running around, barely wearing anything, and meeting up at Roman Polanski's house later, because what they did was, in conjunction with LSD and hypnotism, is how they made mind control zombie robots. And that's how you got to the third party at Roman Polanski's house, was you were invited by somebody who saw you and knew that you were susceptible to hypnotism. Because only certain people are susceptible, and they give themselves away to somebody who's a well-trained hypnotist. So they would get spotters, and they would feed these subjects into parties over at Roman Polanski's house and other houses just like Roman Polanski's. Come on in, Epic.
Yeah, there's written evidence of this in several books, and one of the ones that gets kind of downplayed a lot is, I believe it's Ed Sanders' book. And Ed Sanders is kind of like an Arlo Guthrie kind of character. He's a musician, he's a poet, he's a writer, he's all this, but he also was a member of the Manson family. He lived with the Manson family. He's not just some guy writing about it from the outside. He lived there. He lived at Spawn Ranch. He had sex with more, he brags about sometimes of convicted murderers than anybody on earth and stuff. So he knows what he's talking about. And he actually got in trouble for naming some names. He got in trouble for naming Sirhan being there. He got in trouble for naming Dennis Hopper's aversion to what he saw there. Dennis Hopper's a good guy in this story, actually, because there was a drug deal that went down at Roman Polanski's house, one of these sex hypnotist parties, where according to Ed Sanders, they were basically doing threesomes on Sharon Tate. I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying that's what the story is. And there's a drug deal that went down with Jay Sebring, and the guy sold bad dope to Jay Sebring. So Roman Polanski had him brought to the house, and they stripped him naked and whipped him. They had everybody take turns whipping him with actual like leather whips, right? And it disgusted Dennis Hopper. And that's from his perspective. That's his story. So, and along with that, he's the guy that tied in the Process Church directly to this also, being next door. And he got sued in the United States, Sanders did. And he had to withdraw the Process Church part of his book from the United States version of his book. But it stayed in the UK. So the UK and Europe still has the full version. So, so these are not stories that I'm making up or stories that anybody can not find by just looking a little bit of research or go get the book. You know, it's how reliable do you think Ed Sanders is? Well, it's not just him. There's other guys who've written the same kind of stuff. People who spent time with Manson in prison have talked about these things. And this goes back to Manson again. How did Manson know this, and how did people like Timothy Leary end up in the cell next to him at Terminal Island, right? I mean, think about the probability of any of these things happening. It's not possible for it not to be planned.
Go into that a little bit, expound on that a little bit, Epic. People don't know that Timothy Leary was in the cell right next to Charlie Manson.
Charlie Manson, yeah. So what happened was Timothy Leary was a Harvard professor doing LSD experiments with the guy who later became Ram Dass. I forget what his real name is at the moment, but Ram Dass is who we know him as now, right? And they came over to Berkeley and to Stanford, but they kind of did programs with them without necessarily always teaching classes or being a tenured professor with them. They were part of the group that worked with guys that did the electric Kool-Aid acid test and things like that, right? So they came in, they were part of that group, right? And they worked with the Grateful Dead and all these other people. Well, during that time frame, Timothy Leary got arrested. And he got sent to Terminal Island at the time when Charlie Manson was in Terminal Island, right? It ended up Hannibal Lecter style. Remember the scene in Silence of the Lambs where the guy throws stuff at Jodie Foster?
Yeah.
And next time Jodie Foster comes back, the guy's crying in the corner because he spent all this time, Hannibal Lecter spent all this time psychologically manipulating him and just totally tearing him apart. Well, this is basically based on what happened with Timothy Leary being next to. You can make the assumption. I'm not saying it's true, but I make that assumption, certainly. Why is he there next door to Timothy Leary? Charlie Manson next door to Timothy Leary. Because, right, Charlie Manson didn't want to go do what he was supposed to be going to do. He did not want to leave Terminal Island. This is a matter of record. He did not want to be let out of jail. He begged to not be let out of prison. Literally. He wanted to stay at Terminal Island. And when he got let out with his leather jacket, and we joke about a credit card. I don't know if that's true, but right there in Haight-Ashbury, right in the middle of everything, where he's subject to both the Church of Satan and the Process Church, 2 blocks away from each other, right? And meets up with both those people. Now, the thing that O'Reilly's book brought up when it talks about Jolly, who's his agent, Dr. Jolly, who's a brainwashing expert. The thing about this is that tied it all in, that I thought was great, because we'd done some research on this before that was missing Jolly. But the parole officer was at a part of Riley's book, which was great because it shows that they were sending Charlie Manson to Mexico, this place called Xtul. I don't know how to pronounce it, XTUL. I'm calling it Xtul, but XTUL in Mexico. At the time when the Process Church was living there at this remote location, and he's supposed to go there as, get this, a surveyor. Charlie Manson, con all his life, is going down there, get a special permission to go down to Mexico to be a surveyor, to meet with the Process Church down in Xtul, Mexico.
Yeah.
Come on, people. Come on.
Yeah, right.
Right? There it is. There it is. I mean, there is the connection right there.
Rio, did you have anything you wanted to add? We're getting ready to go to the bottom of the hour break here in about 5 minutes.
Well, the part that I find interesting about all this is, once Charlie Manson was out, all the connections he had to the, to the West Coast music scene. I mean, even with the, even people you wouldn't think of, like with the Beach Boys. I mean, a lot of people know that connection, but like he had such an influence into that whole scene, and and his ties to all the other stuff. It really makes this interesting. Like it's like a big, it's Halloween. So let's say it's a big spider web of connections, and they're all these little points tied to each other all the way through. It's just amazing.
Sorry about that, Rio. But it was actually kind of.
He does that all the time. You know about that, Rio.
It was kind of.
I'm used to that.
It was kind of dramatic, though. Right when you said that spider web, and it went da 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 da. No, but yeah. So we're getting ready to go to break. My name's Jimmy. It's Into the Microcosm. We're here every Friday night, 11 o'clock Pacific, and every Monday at 3 o'clock Pacific. Prime time Monday. This Monday, we are going to welcome the alternative universe to Into the Microcosm, and that's a new show that we're going to be doing once in a while. And we're going to be offering some high-tech solutions, some cool stuff, different stuff, Rio and Epic. I'm sure people will get into it. So, but in the meantime, here, let's go back.
She's somehow closer now. Softly smile, I know she must be kind. In her eye.
When I look out my window, many sights to see. And when I look in my window, so many different people to be, that it's strange, so strange. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. Must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch.
We're going to be right back. Mom's Jimmy. All right, boys, we're clear. I need to take a quick break. I'll be right back. Why don't you guys jump in here and have at it, or go take breaks? Whatever you want to do, let me know.
I did take a break, too.
All right, what about you, Rio? You want to just talk to the chat? There's a whole bunch of people over there. I just can't stay right now. I got to go to the bathroom real quick.
Yeah, go.
Go ahead. So say hello to everybody, man. There's a whole bunch of people over in the chat. I'll be right back.
Oh, can they hear me in the chat?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're live on YouTube. When we go on break, we're still live on YouTube. I just dumped the radio network so we don't go out, talking.
Oh, okay,
so,
gotcha.
Yeah, so we're live on our channel over here. This is just our people over here. So they're over here hanging. So it's cool, man. You can talk about just about anything, man. How's it going? Tell everybody what's going on for you over there with the COVID thing. That'll take you 2 minutes, and I'll be right back.
Oh yeah, I'm so sick of the whole COVID thing. It's the whole masks and the nonsense, and people here have lost their minds over it. I mean, it's what it's really all about. But I as far as you guys in the chat go, man, it's good to see you're all here, and it's good to be back with Jimmy on the air. I haven't done this in a while. I don't know if you guys got any questions, like as far as what we're talking about, but it's I don't know what to talk about off the air. It's kind of weird. It's good to see Ken. I haven't seen you in like months, dude. Drone I see for every once in a while. And of course, I know this is on like 7-second delay to YouTube, so it's going to take a minute for the responses to come up. Cold grape soda. Is that some kind of weird reference, Drone?
I gotta see if I can get this other channel working, man. Hang on a second. I got some shit to do here real quick. Hang on. Still got a minute, so that's good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what the timing is on.
We got a minute. We're not on the network though. I gotta go connect. Hang on. I gotta just check this real quick. Hang on. Check it. Hang on.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Can you hear that buzz?
No, the music sounded fine.
Can anybody hear the buzz? Because I hear it in my headphones, but if you don't hear it, it doesn't matter.
That sounded good to me.
All right. Okay. Got to go back. Here we go. Ready? Here we go.
2 p.m. Eastern Time here on Studio A on Revolution Radio, and learn what's really going down.
A little honey on the lone highway left me for another on the lone highway. They killed dirty John McGee on the lone highway.
We're riding down the boulevard. We're riding through the dark night. We're half a tank and empty heart. Pretending we're in love, but it's never enough night. As the sirens fill the lonely air. Oh, how did we get here now, babe? We see a storm is closing in. Pretending we get it. Don't say a word while we dance with the devil. You brought a fire to a world so cold. We're out of time on the highway to never. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. There's a place just south of Witches Valley where they say the wind won't blow, and they only speak in whispers of the night. There's a lady they say who feeds the darkness and eats right from her hand. With a cry and shout, she'll suck you out and freeze you where you stand. Lady Evil, Evil.
My name's Jimmy.
Magical, mystical woman.
It's Revolution Radio.
Evil, evil in my mind. She's queen of the night.
Man, I just feel like getting on my motorcycle, my bad motor scooter, and ride when I hear that song. What about you guys, man? Lady Evil.
I'm ready to go somewhere.
She got evil on her mind. And let me say something. Epic, why don't you jump in here real quick before Rio comes in for a second here. Why don't you jump in real quick and tell everybody just exactly what it was that Sharon Tate was doing. It's too late to fall in love with Sharon Tate, and it's too soon to ask me for the words that are carved on my tomb. Why don't you tell everybody what movie she was sort of role playing and actually going and living it out and I'll play the trailer. Tell everybody what she was up to.
Yeah, we've talked about this quite a bit leading up to this Halloween show, and it deserves a Halloween show because it is so ridiculously over-the-top ritualistic magic stuff that it deserves its own show. I mean, honestly, she was brought into this show called Eye of the Devil, and it had David Niven and a bunch of other high-end actors in it. It was a black and white movie, but she spent 2 years working on it with Alex Sanders and his wife. I believe her name's Elizabeth, and they were the founders of what's called Alexandrian Magic, learning real rituals, real ceremonies, real symbols to make the whole 9 yards. I mean, for 2 years before the movie was ever released, and that is an exorbitant amount of time to spend on a movie nobody saw. I mean, if you ask your friends, "Hey, ever seen the movie Eye of the Devil?" They're probably going to say no, right? And yet the movie was so involved in her life for so long that it up until her pregnancy was probably the main focus of her life for that whole time. And why is that? What was the significance of this movie? Really, I mean, you have to ask yourself, what is the significance of this movie, and how does that tie into Roman Polanski, and how does that tie into Rosemary's Baby? And they knew this movie was coming. She was supposed to be in that movie originally, right? And it just got changed at the last minute. And
didn't Anton LaVey get himself a little spot in one of Roman Polanski's movies?
He played the devil in Rosemary's Baby.
He played the devil? No.
That's what
really?
they say. That's what they say. They say that was him in the outfit playing Satan in the movie. And they knew each other. I mean, that's the thing. Like to say they didn't know each other is preposterous. Of course they did, right? and it ties back to this Playboy Mansion stuff too. And there's videos of them talking with obviously Hugh Hefner about Rosemary's Baby, but from their relationship prior to that, right? And it ties back to this movie again too. And this movie, along with a movie called The Mephisto Waltz, which is one with Alan Alda of all people, where a guy sells his soul in a Faustian kind of deal with the devil. And these movies came out at the same time. So that one's in color, and they have this masquerade scene that puts Eyes Wide Shut to shame, actually, where the guy is running around with this dog with a human head on it and stuff like that. I mean, it's pretty wild, man. And those movies were planned to come out at the same time, so they were really selling the idea of ritual magic and Satanism, to popularize witchcraft, Satanism, and ritual magic all at the same time. And they all released at approximately the same time. So that movie was in 2 years of production, but didn't come out till later, Eye of the Devil, and likewise Rosemary's Baby, and then Mephisto Waltz. And I mean, all within rapid succession to each other, to put it in the public psyche. And I think we could prove that. We've done enough work on that to show that anything like that is planned,
because
has a schedule.
Right, because the God that everybody used to believe in, the one of the Bible epic in Rio, he's not into the sweaty, orgiastic parties, the low vibrational chanting, and the sweating, and the in and the outs, and all this sex going on all over the place with no ramifications, man. Believe me, I was 18 in 78.
Like the sexual revolution, right? Exactly, tied right in with it.
That's right, because I was 18 in 78, and I wasn't a devil worshiper or Satanist, but I was sure having a lot of sex, man. I'll tell you that. That didn't really stop until the 80s when AIDS came into the picture or whatever. But until then, I mean, it was, anything went. And let me tell you something. Nobody was embarrassed about going out to a bar and looking to have some sex. Women went out and they were wearing the Rio and Epic, you can both back me up on this, in the 80s. The women were running around in mini skirts that were like micro minis. Everybody was out having a good time. They were snorting blow, and what's the first thing you want to do when you're snorting blow? Is have yourself a little bit of sex, man. That's the common thread that runs through it all. So I mean, this is 1970s sexual revolution talk about a little bit about Gloria Steinem and the whole feminist movement away from the male-dominated society and to where a woman can stretch out and hear herself roar. What about old Gloria Steinem?
Gloria Steinem. I mean, some of the people we find we're gonna reveal in a second here. If you guys don't already know, and gals, you probably do, because it's pretty much common knowledge now. But back then it wasn't. And the thing was, here's this revolutionary woman, stand up and be everything that a man could be, and the feminist movement. I mean, the advocate, the main advocate during the time of the sexual revolution, right? And it turns out she works for the CIA. She is a CIA agent. She is literally a CIA agent. Well, come on. At some point, it becomes too ridiculous, right? I mean, so it is a social engineering project. It is. All these things came together. What happened first was they tried to make it work with the writers, the authors, the poets, and just the music, right, back in the day. And then the psychedelic revolution came along with the sexual revolution and gave them a powerful tool. That wasn't good enough. They had to throw the music, the music with the magic and everything in there as well. And when you combine those things, with whether it be reverse speech or casting a spell, because that's what it is, with that music, that image and everything else you see at the same time, with the sigils that are thrown in these things. There's sigils, literally sigils on Led Zeppelin, right? Led Zeppelin 4, is that what it is? It has sigils on the cover. Correct me if I'm wrong, Led Zeppelin fans, but you know which one I'm talking about. It's got all the sigils on it.
Let me just say, what is the reason beyond just the taxing mechanism to add another way to gain taxes for the system, to add women and take them away, break the family up, which is what they did with this, change the way parents, the people that had children in the 60s, the way they raised their kids, the next generation, was completely different than the way that they were raised. And so the thing is that when you're primed generationally to be ready to accept something at a certain moment in time, and at this particular moment in time, the main reason to split women away from men and stop having them be in couples, they want to run around having sex all over the place. Everybody wants to have their own sex and bust their own nut and have their own orgasm. They were still having orgasms.
It's all just Huxley, right? It's all just Huxley's Brave New World.
Right.
Everyone belongs to everyone.
Exactly.
That's that principle being thrown out there totally, out there in the open. Yep, 100%.
So the thing is that the destruction of the church, the bringing in of the other viewpoint. Now, I'm not judging any of this. I'm just putting this stuff forward. You be the judge, man. I'm not. My position is not judging. My position is we're showing you some interesting intersections that we've found over time that have presented themselves in such a way that it's if we were going to court epic, there's no way that we would not come back with a verdict that was favorable to us. Simply because there is absolutely no question about what we're saying. So splitting women away from men and having them have their own sexuality to be able to go out and have sex, just like men do, just go to a club or go to become a swinger. Because listen, man, when you're swinging, let me just tell you, when you're swinging, there's no shortage of ladies. But if you're a single dude trying to get in on a swinging party, man, forget it. You're not coming in. They don't want no dudes. It's not a pirate ship. You know what I mean? But the women are plentiful, and they were plentiful in the 70s. They were hippie chicks.
Sorry, I'm laughing. That's where the expression must have come from. Arr! Inmate.
Exactly. Well, hey, wait a minute. Here, take a listen to this, and then Rio, I want to hear your viewpoint here.
I am woman, hear me roar, in numbers too big to ignore, and I know too much to go back and pretend, 'cause I've heard it all before. And I've been down there on the floor. No one's ever gonna keep me down again. Well, yes, I'm wise, but it's wisdom on a pain.
Okay, so let me just say, I'm not going to get into it. We could do a whole show about this. She just said, yes, I am wise. What is a wise woman, Epic?
Well, depends on the culture you're from.
It's a witch.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, and also, she just I've been down there on the floor. I mean, excuse me? Sometimes you listen to lyrics after, they've been popular for years. You're like, what is she saying?
Well,
Exactly
she just recently died too. May she rest in peace. Epic. Rio, come on in, bruh. Man, I mean, because we're rolling deep, we're rolling fast, and there's only 15 minutes left. Jump on in, bruh.
Well, this is all fascinating in the respect of, if you look at where we are now, and the breakdown that we're having in society. Feminism has gone from equal rights to women to being toxic. Now we have toxic masculinity and extreme feminism, and we see the family structure being broken down. There's more children without dads now, and this is it goes way back into the 60s and before. This is the long game to destroy our society from within. And each part of this is a step that's gotten us to where we are now. And, first we relaxed the sexual rules with that revolution. Then we relaxed the drugs. Then we kind of, witchcraft is, it's just okay. It's just something that people do. And it's been this long progression over, the last 50 years, probably last several hundred years in getting us to where we are now, where they're pushing for the total collapse of society and total takeover. And this is what it's really all about in the big game, in the long game. Because I mean take it back to biblical times. In the book of Revelation, it talks about how Satan in the end wanted to destroy God's creation. And this is where it has all played up to this point. So all this stuff that goes back through the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, it's all been development. It's been the baby steps in the development to getting to where we are now. And that's the part that's interesting, that most people don't see it as that long playing picture.
Right. These are these 10-year, 120-month programs that start marketing to get people prepared to be at a certain place mentally and emotionally at a given moment in time. Like, as an example, let's just say you're a company that sells beer, and you're getting ready for the big Super Bowl ad. You want to, because lots of eyes are going to be on that ad. So when the powers that be know that lots of eyes are going to be on a certain type of situation, they psychologically, socially engineer people ahead of time for that moment to happen. So it's like, for example, there for a long time, part of, big part of everything that goes on here, and a big part of magic, and a big part of energy is same-sex sex between men. And so there's a lot of that went on, and it's always gone on, but there was a point in time when all of a sudden it just became out in the open. And I'm not judging it, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, I'm just saying at some point it just came out in the open. And so now anything goes, and it's all out in the open, so you could do whatever you want. So no longer is it about having a child and having a family. Now it's just merely about busting a nut and getting yours real quick. And so at that point, at the point that it becomes that, and at the point that you have oral sex and anal sex, there's really, you're getting to the point where there's really no difference between sexes as far as, having an orgasm. And so women are clearly, have been programmed to enjoy each other in the open in a way that's never been seen before, maybe back in Lesbos. But as far as that,
the island of Lesbos, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that none of this stuff happens by accident, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the sexual revolution. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having good sex. I'm not saying anything wrong with being
we're tying it back to magic, right? Because that's exactly what it is. So it's the power of intention reinforced by sexual energy, right? So that's sex magic. So the sigil with your energy cast into it through the power of, this is disgusting, but the power of the orgasm, however you get there, is one of the most powerful things to charge the sigil with, because these sigils take on a life of their own in magic. I'm not a sorcerer, but I have about it to know about it because of the people I've studied, right, to know about it. And so it doesn't matter if it's male or female in the terms of charging the sigil. It matters just that it gets there. Now, it does matter in terms of what kind of magic it could turn up and end up being. And this is the kind of thing that should never be even talked about outside of right before the flood or something, right? I mean, but here we are again, and it's combined with technology. So now we have what I call techno mages, people who use technology with magic, right? And that's what this is always all about, was finding a way to use technology in conjunction with the power of intention, power of will to manifest reality. And there it is. This is what we're facing right now. So the 60s and 70s and the sexual revolution and the hippie movement and all the things that came along, the social engineering things that came along the way, these all have led to this point where we are now. And what's ironic is that they I think I may be wrong, that they thought the intelligence of the community of the society would still stay intact, and it hasn't. So in other words, what's happened is now all the pieces of the puzzle are in place, but people aren't smart enough to use it because they don't. And by that I mean they don't know where it came from. Not that I'm not talking about IQ points. I'm talking about they don't know the context anymore. So not having the context is not going to work the way that maybe the engineers of the 60s, 50s, and actually going back long before then thought it was going to work. It's not going to work because they don't know the context.
So there's another aspect to this too, because once it's just about having an orgasm, then you have all this seed that's being sprayed around that's not actually going anywhere. There's nobody being born. So it's a way of controlling the population by turning it into just one giant sea of debauchery. And at this point, literally anything goes, man. I mean, so realistically, Epic, jump in on Aldous Huxley real quick. We only got a few minutes left, but I just want to say, at the point where people are just forced into their house, isn't it everybody just going to be forced into some, masturbation situation where they can't go anywhere and all they can do is just have a VR of somebody and just trying to pretend like, get some machine that you can buy from Japan that has some rubber made out of rubber.
Right. It's really nice soft rubber, pliable, whatever. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like when the time they were contemporaries, George Orwell wrote 1984, and after, about the same time, but there's contemporary still, is Aldous Huxley wrote Brave New World. And there are two conflicting ends of the spectrum. One was totalitarianism in 1984, just overbearing force, making society bend to its will. And the other one was Aldous Huxley's make people love their enslavement. That's what Brave New World is. Brave New World is, they take their soma, the drug that makes them feel happy. They have sex as often as they want because everyone belongs to everyone. That's literally the premise. And in fact, the word mother in Aldous Huxley's Brave New World is a cuss word. You're not allowed to say mother. If you say mother, it's like that's like saying it's banned. You can't even say that, right? Because everybody grows up in a test tube. And the irony here is that Aldous Huxley ends up being the winner here. People are embracing their servitude. And what's happened is they have artificial wombs that are real right now that will soon take the place of people who have an unwanted pregnancy. They can just let it grow up there. It'll be a ward of the state, right? Or if you don't want to alter your body, if you're a woman, you don't want to go through the pain of childbirth, you can just, if you can afford it, go ahead and have your baby grow up in an artificial womb. And you don't have to have a surrogate mother anymore. They're doing that right now, the surrogate mother. But it is absolutely Brave New World. It's 100% that.
Well, I mean, it ties into, global carbon and all this bull that's, I mean, all these things tie into each other and they're all interwoven to a soup that, makes everybody pliable to all these different social engineering programs. It's only a matter of who it is that has enough money to utilize the weapon on you as they will. Rio, jump on in, man.
Yeah, I agree with that. And even this whole the whole situation we're in now with the masks and whatever, it's to hide your emotion, hide your face, keep you indoors, push you into the technology and away from other people, and to keep you separate. I mean, everybody knows that the masks are essentially worthless against a virus. They just don't filter out enough to it's not going to stop it from getting to you. But what it is doing is making people comply. And if you want to go to the store, you have to wear your mask. If you want to go out in public, you have to wear your mask. But you can't look at the other people around you because you can't see what their facial expressions. So everybody now is in a point where they're cold and they're sterile, because if I smile at you as I'm walking past you in the aisle of the grocery store, you can't see that. You don't know that I'm smiling.
Well,
So that there again, there's another mechanism to disrupt the social interaction between people, and
I think
part of it ties into that too. You
know what I think we should do, because we're coming up on a break? I think everybody should just put on a mask, and then everybody take off their clothes and only have on a mask, and then we just have a giant sex party down at the park.
Isn't that the Halloween mask is for, to hide your identity too?
It could be. We're at the end, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jimmy. It's been Into the Microcosm. That is Rockin' Rio. Rio, is there someplace anybody can find you? No? How about
no? I'm invisible.
Yeah, how about you come back?
You can find me here at Into the Microcosm.
That's right. How about you come back next Friday, man, and I'll put you on the spot on the air.
Yeah, we could do that.
All right, cool. All right, Epic Journeyman, because it's going to be right after the election, so it should be a good one. It'll be like a play-by-play. It'll be like Howard Cosell, Dandy Don, and the Epic Journeyman. I'll be Cosell. He's down. He's down. Frasier's down. All right. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. Don't forget, Revolution Radio is fully listener-supported, so head on over. Stay tuned for Jer Bear with Late Night coming up. There's still 26 people in the chat room over there. I think looks like they're all getting naked and putting on their masks for a minute. Might be one time people don't mind putting on a mask. Epic Journeyman, we got 2 minutes. Any last words for the Revolution Radio audience? We're going to stay over here on YouTube. Go ahead.
Hey guys, enjoy your masks. Have a good time. Don't party too hardy, because we can't have too many people at our house. I mean, there's some legitimacy to that. But I would say that the mask, historically, we didn't get to get into it. It has so much behind it.
I know.
Just,
you know what?
It's in the culture today.
Check this out, ladies and gentlemen. A year ago on Halloween, we did a show about masks. And this is before there was any COVID. Hey, man, here comes Zach. Watch out. I'll see you on Monday with Alternative Universe. My name's Jimmy. It's Into the Microcosm. Rockin' Rio. Epic.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, baby. All right, we'll see you guys on the other. Alright, the radio network's gone. Let me just let this play for a second. I just gotta do something here. May be blind, but I find my way. My name's Jimmy. It's the End of the Microcosm after party. What's happening, man? You want to hang out for a bit, Rio?
Yeah, I'll stick around for a little bit. And my one question I wanted to get in, but what happens if you wear a mask under the mask, or a mask over the mask?
I'm surprised no one's come out with a mask that has a condom and a hole, so people can wear it and still have sex, like have a condom on the inside, like an oral dam. You know what I mean? Epic. Come on.
Actually, the mask I was You remember the string bikinis from the 80s where they had the little triangles over the boobs?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't that be like the
into that during
perfect
the show,
mask
actually.
to wear to the grocery store? The little tiny triangle over your nose and mouth. Just a little itty bitty thing.
There was actually people wearing panties over their face.
Yeah, I know. It's so ridiculous. I used a paper bag when this first started. I cut some eye holes in a paper bag and wore that because in New York the requirement was a face covering, not a mask.
Well, listen, why don't you and Epic hang out for a bit here for a second if you need to take a break. I got to take a break real quick. Let me just grab something and I'll be right back.
Yeah, it's a trip about the masks. We got into it last year about the significance historically of masks, and it turns out we did this long before the pandemic, of course, and we're talking about pantomime masks going back to Greek and Roman times, Greek times originally, not the English pantomime, the Greek pantomime theater, and kabuki, and then going back to 9,000-year-old masks of the Dead Sea area of ironically all places. The oldest masks they've found are made out of stone. And obviously they've had them in Africa and stuff way before then, spirit animals and things like that. But archaeologically, it's 9,000 years old. The ones they found, the oldest ones, and it's similar. Like but the thing that cracks me up is we find this era of time where they had the carnivals and the masquerades in Venice.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Europe.
even like clown paint, that's a mask too.
Well, because of smallpox. Yeah, people were scarred by smallpox. Yeah. And the thing is, the whole powder makeup and wigs is because they lost their hair and were pockmarked, right? So it turns out they had bubonic plague, they had smallpox, they had all these. We weren't talking about this last year, but they had all these epidemics, these pandemics in Europe, and these happened to correspond with the advent of the masquerade and the carnival. And Jimmy's away, but we didn't have a chance to talk about it with him here. Meant to bring it up a little bit, but the thing is, we had talked about a little bit how they have like the bird doctor mask. It's got the beak. That's the doctor mask, which during the plague they used to use to go visit people. Right, they had the plague. And
well, that's a reference to Thoth, isn't it?
It is. It is right. So it has the mystical tie-in to Thoth, and it also has the they used like different herbs and stuff inside that big beak as a filter. So it's actually a original charcoal, wasn't charcoal though, but a kind of filtered gas mask in a way to protect them against the plague that the doctors used. And it's really interesting when you think about the Venetian masks, because it originally started off with like the carnival kind of attitude, where it only ran a couple weeks out of the year, or a certain events, usually going back to Greek days. But then it became something that you could do all the time. And it happened to correspond, and I don't think anybody ever really put this together really, with the Black Plague. And the law was you could wear a mask all the time and be in costume anytime, but you couldn't carry a weapon if you did. That was the rule. So if you were in Venice, you could run around, and they did, in masks all the time. And you have to wonder if this is what they were really doing. Like, they understood enough to know that it got the transmission of disease down by wearing the mask, right? But it also afforded the wealthy of the time the ability to go fraternize with the commoner, and likewise, right, without their identity being revealed. So it's kind of on the down low way for the wealthy to really abuse the commoners in a way, and the commoners think they're making well, but I'm talking about sexual fraternization, obviously, because those kind of masquerades and carnivals back in the day were all sex oriented, going back to Greek times, right? They're all about having the festival and the kind of the ritual, let it all hang loose kind of thing for spring, usually originally, and yeah. So it makes sense, actually. We look at it back in the context of what we're going through today in the pandemics of the past, that actually there may be something to that.
Well, I really think there is something to that. I mean, and it's interesting too. Like, we're not all, everybody's running around with masks on now, and the majority of people are just wearing like the paper surgeon's masks or whatever. But there are a lot of people who have these decorated bandanas with faces on them and other images on them, and it's part of people don't realize what they're actually doing, but they're in some respect paying homage to that whole past history of the mask, and they're if you have to hide your identity, why not be somebody else? Why not put a Joker mask on, or why not put a clown mask on, or a smiley face, or whatever, and people are, they're thinking they're being creative in the crisis now by having these cool masks on their face. But they're really doing the same thing. They're hiding their identity, and they're playing into the whole the bigger picture of the magic involved behind it.
Yeah, we got into that last year, and that's true. Like the whole psychological side of it, of what it means to hide your identity and be able to manifest your desires without consequence, essentially, by your identity being known. But also about how like the hero has 1,000 faces, the whole kind of Joseph Campbell thing, the psychological aspect of it. But also going back to the original Greek rituals, and before Greece, obviously, but we know them from Greece. And yeah, I mean, it was a total free for all, sexual kind of thing. Just let it all, cut it all loose originally back then. And I wonder. The irony is that it's the opposite now, right? So now you can still hide your identity. At some point, what's going to happen is all that pent-up energy is going to have to be released at some point, right? It's going to be kind of that same kind of thing, don't you think? Like it'll be almost like a free love kind of thing. Everybody's got their whatever disease they have has been, wiped out by them being isolated for so long that maybe they could have a week of getting together, and having a free-for-all when it's all done, at the end. I don't know and how they're going to treat it, but there's parallels there. There definitely are parallels.
I think part of the whole the whole rioting and looting scene, is that people have all that pent up energy because they've been contained for so long and they've been tied up for the last 9 months with this whole thing that they put on their mask, they go outside and they trash stuff because that's where the energy's going because they have nothing better to do with it when they're tied up in their house for 6 months hiding from this virus. And I think in some way, like all this crazy activity that's going on is because of that, like they need to spend their energy on something. And, they have the added benefit of, if their face is covered, you can't see who they are. So they can go out and do it without consequence. And it's the same, psychologically, it's the same concept. I can go do what I want without consequence. And, it's amazing to see how that all plays into the whole scene that's going on now.
Yeah, what is old is new again, right? So I mean, it really is pent up sexual energy. It really is, and whether it be Hephaestus or Pan or whatever it might be from the old days in these festivals of spring that required you to wear a mask as part of the ritual, so people's identity, hypothetically isn't known. I'm sure they all knew at some point, who they were with, but that was the whole idea is to go ahead and vent steam, right? In a society.
I don't know if you're watching the stream here, but Jimmy just went all like Victorian mask on us for a second. Now he's got the devil going. Now he's got the devil going.
Nice. No, I'm not watching the stream. I'm on Skype right now. I'm on iPad, so I have to be frugal with what I do. But yeah, it's really interesting because when we did tie this stuff back last year, the history of the mask is amazing. Actually.
Listen, I got a mask here that's gonna freak you the fuck out. You ready? This mask talks. Okay, check this out. Check it. Here it comes. Hold on, I gotta push on his horn. Hold on. Let me get situated so I can do it all at the same time.
Of course, the YouTube is on like 7-second delay, so we're like anticipating this now.
All right, here it comes.
I am Darth Maul, Sith apprentice. At last, we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last, we will have revenge. You've never faced my kind before. I am well trained. You are no match for me. Fear attracts the fearful. Fear is my ally.
That's interesting.
I am a weapon forged by the dark side. I sense your fear. Your right to be afraid. I will finish you, Jedi.
There it is, man. The secret devil mask on my right shoulder.
At last, we will
It's telling me in my ear. He is well trained. I am no match for him. Fear is his ally. Isn't that a trip, man?
Yeah, that's. I mean, that pretty much says it all. Like
The
it's
words,
right?
right? Yeah, the words. I mean, everybody thinks the words are inconsequential, but they have meaning and they have power. You know, they really do. Especially spoken by a mask. You know, where they're just the words. And I was going to talk about that earlier in the show about how the power of sound. We were talking about sound earlier and why the reverse speech works and why backmasking works the way it does. And it's the power of one sense of sound minus sight, right? And how it affects your mind. And it is true. The fact that in the absence of light, the only thing that normally travels is the sound, right? So the things that are in the darkness that go bump in the night are scary because your mind makes images for those sounds.
Right, and you know, the other interesting end of that is that, like, for blind people, you know, blind people can be expert marksmen, and they do it because they hone in on the source of the sound that they're looking to shoot at, you know. So, you know, one will compensate for the other.
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? I mean, yeah, and dolphins and whales, supposedly the melon, they call it the melon, they have a big brain, but they have a bigger brain than we do, a more complicated brain than we do. But the melon, where the brain is situated within the oils and stuff that make an acoustic transducer, essentially, for the sound, they believe that they can actually project images. So in other words, when they make their sonar clicks and their screeches and things that they make in the water, or whale songs, those are actually transmitting images. So the whale or dolphin at their side sees an image.
Well, it's you know, it's basically like they have a built-in ground penetrating radar. I mean,
yeah.
that's really what it comes down to.
So,
you know.
So Rio, Epic is an ex-submariner, man. He is like the submariner, the Sandman. He was over in Iraq, and now he's over in the jungle. He's like the Sandman, the Submariner, and fucking Crocodile Dundee all rolled into one. Man, I tell you what, the three of us dudes, I tell you what, man, forget it. People better watch out, man, the three of us together, because I just put on my crown.
Yeah, well, you know, it was funny. I was going to say something about it being a Burger King crown, but Rusty beat me to it, I think.
No, this is actually a fluffy crown. Like, I could wear this and stand at the barbecue and cook some carne asada, which I'm going to be doing tomorrow. Because tomorrow is Taco Saturday up here in the penitentiary. But I'm living the life like Goodfellas. You know, I make each meal, I take the time and I slice this garlic real thin, Rio, so it liquefies in the pan, you know, just like they talked about in old Goodfellas.
Taco Saturday must be a California thing, because over here we do Taco Tuesdays, man.
I know. Well, everybody does Taco Tuesdays. That's why I step out on the
it's everywhere, yeah.
I go wild, man. And you know what? Any day is Taco Day for me, because I can get them. I used to be able to get them for 95 cents on the truck. Just right on the street, but now they've raised their price. Now they're $2.95. Go ahead.
Well, you know, now that I split my time between here and down south, man. There's a taco truck that was used to run through the neighborhood in Texas, and you know, it's like $1 or $2 for a taco, and they were the best. They were absolutely awesome, because they were like the construction workers down there. They were still building the neighborhood, so the taco truck would drive down the street to the construction guys. And you know, one day I was down there and I just happened to see it go by. I said, man, I'm gonna go get me some tacos from this guy, and they were great. They were awesome.
Man, one time back in the 80s, like late 80s, I was selling cars at this Honda dealership, and you know, you're hanging when you sell cars, you don't have no friends except for other people that sell cars, because you're always at the dealership. You stand out there for 12 hours every day, you know, just. So we all went over to get some tacos, and there was this dude that just moved to the West Coast, you know, from someplace else. I don't know where, but wherever it was, they didn't have tacos. So we took them to this taco truck, and so one of the, they have a couple of things on the taco trucks. They have something called lengua, and they have something called cabeza, and lengua is tongue and cabeza is brains. So you can get tongue tacos or brains tacos. So we all go to the taco thing, car salesmen, man, they play jokes on each other all day long, man. It's nothing but like sarcasm and jokes all day, just trying to make people do shit. It's not, and literally, it's the worst job you could ever have. You ask a car salesman what time it is and when you work there, and you know what they say to you? What time do you want it to be? And if it was, would you? Because that's what you do. Answer every question with a question, and then ask them if they want to buy. So
it's all about closing.
Yeah, right. So we all go down to the taco stand. Here's this new guy. He's brand new at the lot. He's brand new from the East Coast somewhere. Oh man, something happened. Hopefully we didn't just go dark. My stream just refreshed. Let me see if the chat comes back. Yeah, it did. Anyway, so we all go down there, and we basically, the bottom line, we ordered this dude some brains. We were all eating these carne asadas, we're all eating some beef, some guys are eating some other stuff, but he was just macking down on these brains, man. And after he was like done with about 2 of these tacos, that's when we dropped it on him. Hey, bruh. He's like, man, this is good. He was eating it up, man, until he found out it was brains. Then he had a whole different idea about it. But, I mean, just the texture of it, I mean, I didn't know something was wrong. It was me, but I don't know. What about you guys? Have you ever had brains or leg?
I have had. I'm a pretty adventurous eater. I'll try almost anything once. I have had brains. They don't taste bad. The texture is a little strange. I've had tongue. Tongue is like chewing on rubber bands to me. Somebody just asked in the chat, what about tripe? Tripe is like chewing on rubber bands, and just not flavorful at all, in my opinion. I mean, I know some people love it, but I don't dig it. But I've eaten some pretty strange things that most people wouldn't eat. The one thing that truly disgusts me though is escargot. I can't do the snails, man.
Epic, I know you got some.
Oh yes, the snail for you.
I know the Epic's been eating something weird shit over there, dude. Do you eat sea urchin? Do you eat the sushi,
no, actually,
dude?
I don't. I think I might have tried it one time. I'm not sure way back when, but no, I'm not that adventurous when it comes to what do you want to call them? Soul food, ethnic food, whatever. Because it sounds terrible, but what it usually means is because it's the throwaway parts that nobody else would normally eat because they were poor wherever they grew up. Right. So that's why you eat like the gecko legs and the shrimp tails and the tripe, is because all the good parts.
Yeah, because when
the glass, right? So no, I try to avoid those things.
It's the field Negroes and the house Negroes. You were living high on the hog when you weren't eating that tripe stuff. High on the hog, man.
No, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And so yeah. I mean, I appreciate the culture, but at the same time, it's like no, I don't really feel it.
In all honesty, like beer batter fried frog legs are actually pretty tasty.
Those are good, but they do taste like fish.
I've heard those are good. Actually, I haven't tried those. I heard those are good. I would eat those actually.
They do taste like chicken, but they do smell like fish, and that makes them good. I mean, anything that smells like fish and tastes like chicken, you have a line out the door for that, man. I tell you right now. You just set up a barbecue and have that be on your sign. It smells like fish but tastes like chicken. You have a line all the way out the door, man. I'm telling you.
I will say this, like the thing that all those foods I'm talking about that I normally wouldn't eat, that are the guts and the throwaway parts and stuff. All those cultures, you know what they did do? They made the best spices ever. Because they had to make those things taste good that are not really that good. So that's why I'm telling you, like, the best food in the world is that kind of ethnic food. The best food you're going to get is those kind of spices that were made to make those things you normally wouldn't eat taste good.
Well, right? that's the Cajun cooking and the
exactly
the Indian
right.
curry. And I mean, the French were big with the sauces, like to hide the rotten meat.
Yeah, the same thing is like the less you have, spices are cheap, so the less you have, the better you need to make it taste. So there's a lot of flavors that you get. When you plus, I mean, literally, you can live off of rice and beans, man, and tortillas. I mean, you can literally live off of it. And the thing is like the beans, if you cook them in lard or whatever, they go bad. You got to eat them, but I mean, you can literally you can live off of it, man. Yeah,
I mean, well, one of my favorite things at Thanksgiving coming up is I love making the giblet gravy. I take all those pieces that are in the little baggie and that people throw away, and I make the gravy with it. I love it. It's just a thing. Some people are like, "Oh my God, you're putting the heart in there and the liver," and yeah, why not, man? It's protein, it's iron, it's actually fairly healthy for you. Some of those parts.
Yeah, no,
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, Epic.
Oh no, I was gonna say like especially over here in the islands, like Filipino food's fantastic. It's great, but you need to make sure what you're eating. Like you're talking about eating the brains or the whatever. I mean, maybe it won't bother you, to know, but as far as like I said, the spice and the taste, it's great. It's good. An example, Thai food or I love Thai food. My favorite food is Cajun food, Thai food, and Filipino foods. They're all fantastic. And Mexican food, obviously.
Oh yeah, we have some great Thai around here, man. I love the Thai food.
Yeah, but the meat is what you always have to wonder about, right? Back to the point about the car sales, pranks, right? Because you do have to wonder what the meat is. You do,
Well, I mean, you go to McDonald's, you wonder what the meat is.
Well, ain't that a fact, man? Nowadays, yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. I've had problems with gout over the last couple of years, and I'll tell you, it's always that processed corn-fed beef that gets me, man. I'd rather eat the gecko feet and the the shrimp legs, right? Because they're not going to do that to me. Because they're torturing those poor animals and getting this high acid content in the meat, and it's actually more harmful for you than that stuff, So yeah, give me the soul food in that case, I guess.
I know.
One of the big advantages I have over here is we have a very large Jewish community, so you can get kosher beef, where it's actually humanely treated and not mass slaughtered and stuff. So some of the hormones and the toxins are actually a bit lower, and the beef does taste different.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing people don't realize is there's actually a religious principle behind kosher foods. So like if you buy kosher, it's most of the time it's not GMO at all. It can't be, because they have to answer to a higher authority. Remember that show? It's Hebrew.
It's not kosher.
It's kosher. We have to answer to a higher authority. So hey, man, I mean, so one of the things, I mean, being in a lockdown situation, I know, for example, you, Rio, you do a lot of your own stuff, right? So you got your own. Are you still growing stuff out in the yard? You still got the berries and all that and everything going? You still?
Yeah, the blueberries this year, unfortunately, were not what they could have been. Partially my fault for not pruning the bushes last year, and it sounds weird, and I built like a little house for it, a netted house to keep the birds from attacking them. But I had this little family of squirrels this year. There was like 5 or 6 of them, and they were absolutely obnoxious and nasty. I mean, they got they go right under the fence to the blueberries, and they tore up the bushes. And then when I went in there to get the berries, I mean, these things would stand there and screech at me like I was doing, disservice to them. I had, rows of carrots planted. They picked out, carrots were all about, maybe an inch long, inch and a half long when they started growing. They pulled I got 1 carrot this year because they pulled out every single carrot, took 1 bite out of every carrot and left it there. And I was watching them do it. I went out there to shoot them away because I saw this little furry rat out there yanking my carrots out. And I could not believe it, but I've never had this problem before. But this year, I had these like 4 or 5 squirrels that were just absolutely obnoxious, and they destroyed everything.
Well, that's important to talk about because people think they're just going to grow, You know, they think they're gonna
whatever they want. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying they think the world's gonna end and they're gonna pull out this pack of seeds and grow some shit. But they don't realize that the minute you're about to eat it, some critter will come in there and eat one piece of everything you got. And now you can't eat any of it, or you got to take a chance, you know. I was going to tell you guys, I used to work, I've had several on the side of the road businesses, you know, when I was coming, you know, when I was going through life. And one of the times I worked for this black dude, and he had this, it was a soul food barbecue cart, like a hot dog cart, only he sold soul food.
I love soul food.
I know, man. And this dude used to make catfish and hush puppies.
Ah, yeah, now you're talking.
I know, man. See, people aren't hip to it. And let me tell you something, man. If you can cook on a Louisiana hot link the right way, man, on some soft ass bread, Louisiana hot, man. Oh man, with some mustard, some onions. Damn, epic. I heard you over there. I'd like to jump in on some cooking. What do you got, man?
Oh, well, I already mentioned how much I appreciate and love the spices that come with those foods, right? That make them all so palatable. It doesn't matter what the meat is anymore, right? All I was bringing up was how the meat, you know, you have to always question kind of what the meat is, right? But I'll tell you, Rio, I had a really odd thing today, and it was one of those things where you think it's, I almost call it a prophecy, what's going to happen in the future, serendipitous realization. But I was thinking for some inexplicable reason about this image of somebody taking a bite out of every slice of pizza and then throwing the slices back in the box. And it specifically ties directly to your carrot reference. It's just a weird thing, right? Like, I don't know why I thought of that. And then you said that, and it actually made perfect sense.
Well,
I don't know if it means anything at all. It's just weird.
Well, I saw this thing recently, and I forget which. It was some pizza chain. I found it on YouTube at random, where they were accused because of the way they make the pizzas. They were accused of, like, you know, messing around with them or recycling, like, leftover stuff because the slices didn't match up. You know, like, if you bought a pizza, you'd get, like, the leftover slices from 4 different pies that were just kind of arranged to look like a new pie. And
downright disgusting.
That's
right?
sick.
I think I mean I'm not 100% sure, but I think it might have been you know, the Chuckies. But
that makes sense, actually. Well, the
you know,
parties,
and they were like, "Oh
right?
no,
They
we don't
go
do
back,
that."
yeah.
But then, like, these people put up all these pictures of, like, but this slice of pizza just actually doesn't match that slice. And it's not like from when you run the roller through it and the pepperoni goes sideways or whatever. Like, you know, the
they're
piece
cooked
next to the
differently, the
piece
cheese
was
is
actually a
melted
different
differently.
size.
Yeah.
Like, the crust didn't line up, you know? It was kind of weird. So, you know, that kind of ties into... I've never thought about taking, like, one bite out of every slice of pizza, but, you know...
Well, no, I'm saying it was like a foreshadowing.
The squirrels and the
Not
carrots was really
not the
bad.
squirrels and
Nah,
carrots, yeah.
Hey, Lance is busting my chops in the chat about having businesses on the side of the road. Hot dog stand I had, the soul food cart. Let me tell you something, dude. I had a fucking soprano wad that was like 9 inches thick. Cash money, dog. Get it? Side of the
Look.
road, man. It's where it's at, man. It's the new economy. Let me tell you
Jimmy,
something.
if you remember back in days when you were New York bound, if you remember Gray's Papaya, the hot dog place, man.
Oh, man.
They I mean, I haven't been in the city in a long time, but they had this thing called a recession special where you get 2 hot dogs and a papaya juice for $3, right? I mean, these people probably moved 10,000 hot dogs a day. So even, you know, if they're making 50 cents a dog profit, I mean, $1 for a hot dog isn't a lot, you know, especially if they're buying them in mass quantities. You know, it's cost them 10 cents a dog to buy them.
I had a hot
Making
dog.
so much money on hot dogs.
I had a hot dog cart, man. And my spot was on the way to Shoreline Amphitheater, which is where all the concerts are. So I was there 7 days a week. in my spot. So when concerts happened, I was already there. So I was already like, that was my spot. But I made a shitload of money, man. I mean, beyond fucking even being realistic. But I'll tell you, it wasn't really there that I made the most money. It was at events, man. You show up with your cart. Like, I go to these events where these companies are auctioning off all this old computer gear and shit. And there's like 50, 60 people that are bidding on lots of computers. Literally I don't mean a bunch. I mean lots. Like, there's 30. Well, I guess it is a bunch. There's 30 of them in the thing, and they're bidding on it. I was there for like 4.5 hours one day by myself. I cranked out $1,500 worth of fucking hot dogs, man, and sodas and shit. Man, you buy sodas down there. How much you spend for a case of sodas at Costco, man? It's like $6 for 24 cans. Check it out. You're paying
$4. It's $4 for the can if you have the dispenser that makes like 1,000 drinks. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying,
Right.
for $6.
But you mark that up and you sell them for $1 a can.
That's what I'm saying.
In a concert venue, and you just made $24 on every case.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So, man, it's like, and so moving into the near-term future, I think there's going to be this sub-economy that pops up, because I don't think there's going to be a lot of people out. I mean, I see people right now on Craigslist deciding they were just going to start baking shit from home and selling it on Craigslist, pictures of these really nice.
And those people are actually very successful at it. I mean, realistically, the restaurants can't survive with their rent and their overhead and stuff in this situation. So the hot dog cart economy is coming back, man.
Yeah, and the thing is, dude, is like these people making these brownies. They're like, hey, man, are you stuck at home? You want some, comfort food? There's these pictures of these homemade brownies that they made with these. It's got like, just dripping with chocolate and all this. I'm just saying, this thing stopping them from doing that before is the mechanisms of the city and this county and the health department and all this, because someone's afraid they're gonna get sick, or they don't want to get in trouble if they get sick. There's people that I've noticed that people are selling eggs now, where they went out and got some chickens, now they got more eggs than they can eat, so now they're selling fresh eggs on there. I mean, there's a whole, if you go on in your own area on Craigslist and see if people are doing it, I think they are, and they'll deliver it.
Well, I'm in an area where there's a lot of farms anyway, so you can go to the grocery store and buy the farm from the local farms, but all those farms also have their own food stands too. So yeah, I mean, if I want fresh eggs, it's a 5-minute drive to go get fresh eggs, like real fresh eggs, like right from the chicken.
What color are they when you pop them in there, man? I mean, they're nice, right? They're just like
they're normally brown, but inside, the yolk is much more orange than the mass production stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when you
it's a big deal here in Hawaii. Yeah, we have so many chickens here. I mean, on the Big Island here, like they're jumbo chickens, man. They're not just regular chickens. They're really big. And Maui's got a lot of chickens too, but not like the Big Island. Big Island's got a huge population of chickens, and they're really big. And eggs are fantastic, right? So one of the things I'm thinking is coming out of this pandemic, and me and Jimmy talked about it, Rio, was that what's going to happen is that people are going to realize what they can do without intervention from the outside holding them back, right? Because what's going to happen is automation takes over, like the manufacturing industry, which is going to do anyway, right? And people are able to do what they want to do, or they're talented at doing it in the first place. They're going to find that channel by being in this kind of lockdown situation to go pursue what they're really interested in. And eventually what's going to happen is people's ability to create is going to be what creates the new economy, right? Because innovation will stem out of that. What's kept innovation from moving forward is the fact that people are locked into this stupid 40-hour work week, doing a job they hate, right? But you take that away, and people can do what they want, and what they're talented at, and what they're creative at trying to, overcome when they don't have something to make it work. That's what makes a society thrive. So I think that's what's going to come out of it.
And universal. I just want to say, universal income's coming in. You're only going to get that, but you're going to have the ability to earn more for yourself if you want to. If you want to start a business, if you want more money than beyond what they're going to give us, you'll be able to start a little business like what we're talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is we're talking about the eggs. You know, I live kind of like right in the middle of two towns. There's a, you know, and one town is like, you know, the more common folks, you know, not quite as high income, and then the town on the other side, you know, is a little higher class. So same grocery store chain in both towns. You go to one, and you know it's all the regular chicken, eggs, and the mass produced stuff and whatever. You go to the one on the other side where, you know, the more wealth is, and in the ShopRite they sell pheasant eggs and duck eggs and more organic stuff and free range stuff and, you know, local grown stuff, and you can see the quality difference. I mean, the two stores are literally 15 miles apart, and I'm kind of in the middle, and I always prefer to go to the one store because it is all the farm fresh stuff and it is all the higher quality stuff. And, you know, on the other side, it's just the mass-produced stuff, you know, and just in that small range of distance, you can see the difference, you know, between, you know, what the wealthy are eating and what the common folk are eating, you know.
Well, and if you crack an egg from that guy next door in a pan next to the egg from the store, just a Safeway or whatever grocery store you go to, just go buy an egg. Crack them side by side in the same pan. The one is dim yellow and it looks all snotty. It looks like a big pile of snot.
Yeah, very runny and very watery and pale.
And the thing is, and we brought this forward because of the way that it is scientifically. It's scientifically possible at this point to genetically modify chickens that pop out eggs that already have a dose of some kind of fucking vaccine type situation. Because, I mean, a lot of these vaccines are hatched inside of eggs, right? Why not just eliminate the middleman and just give it to you right out of the chicken and just genetically modify the chicken ahead of time to poop out these eggs? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, Rusty in the chat just said GMO corn and soybeans are everywhere now, and they're the main feedstocks for most of these birds and whatever. And he's right. You know, like they're feeding the crap to the birds, and then we're eating the stuff that comes out of the birds. You know, and corn actually is a big thing over here too, because we have the Jersey sweet corn, which is still unadulterated, and it's 3 times the price of the regular corn that you would buy, but it is actually tasty. The squirrels will eat the non-GMO corn, but they won't touch the other stuff.
I know, it's interesting. It's interesting to do that in your yard, to see like when you buy a plant from Home Depot, bring it home into the yard. The hummingbirds and stuff, they won't mess with it for a while. Like it has some sort of smell to it. But so we got a Marianne Inc. is over on the islands. It sounds like, because I think it's a she, and she was saying that she hears island roosters crowing all the time. The thing is, man, look, the people down the street, they're feeding. If they're the kind of people that are growing their own eggs and their own chickens, then that means they're the kind of people that pay attention to what they eat. And so that means they're the kind of people that are throwing away organic substances to feed those chickens. And those chickens are eating different kind of food than the chickens down at the pens, down at the store. So the chickens down the street are eating the organic throwaways from the house, and so on and so forth. So you're getting a whole, okay, he's a dude, it's a dude. Marianne Inc. is a dude. So just to let you know, for everybody. But anyhow, Epic. So, you guys, what are you doing for yourself as far as Rio, as far as like teas and stuff like this? Are you making any stuff at the house? Are you brewing your own brew, or making your own beers? What are you up to over there?
Well, beer is something I always wanted to get into, and I don't have the time or the ability to tend to it like I would want to at this point. Yeah, I do have the vegetable garden, you know, and I fight the squirrels for my broccoli and my carrots, and that kind of thing. I don't grow a whole lot myself, just there again because the time it takes to do the gardening is, but I do have the blueberries, which are quite huge now, and I've got blackberries growing, and because they're great for antioxidants and your health. I mean, blueberries and blackberries are actually some of the best things you can eat, health wise, and I grow herbs. I've got parsley and basil and sage and things like that going.
Yeah, I got bananas, coconuts, obviously. Live over here.
I can't do that. I mean, it's too cold here for that.
Yeah, I got a avocado tree, orange tree, and more. What I have the most of is passion fruit. I got passion fruit all over the place because they're like vines that grow over like the gates and everything around my fence line.
I have tried growing passion fruit, and I can get it. I have beautiful vines, but I cannot get it to fruit.
Yeah, it definitely grows here. You have to make it into like blend it into a mix or something really, honestly, to make it usable as far as I'm concerned. Make drinks out of it and stuff. It's really good for mixing drinks, actually. If you're into that, but it's also really tasty and really really healthy. So I have those all over the place. And of course we got the ocean to go fishing in. So all those big chickens. So I'm in a good spot as far as that's concerned. I really like being here for that, and I think that everybody should try to if you're not able to be self-sustaining, what you want to do is try to have something that other people want that you can barter with, right? So no matter how the economy is, I mean, people are going to want my passion fruit because they want passion fruit, right? So I can trade that for other things, and maybe they have more eggs than I do, and that kind of thing, right? So or whatever it is. So I think that really, I mean, in a lot of ways, this whole COVID thing is as lame as it is in so many ways, and how it restricts us in so many ways. If you're creative about it and realize what you can do for the future, right? It's going to make us better because we're going to go to that kind of economy of your creations being more valuable. Like I can totally see the return of the concept album music, right? That's going to come back. I can see writers being more appreciated than they were in the past. Reality TV is going to go away because you can't do reality TV. Mm-hmm. The only reason reality TV came around in the first place was because of the writer's strike. If it wasn't for the writer's strike, there wouldn't be such a thing, right? So that would go away, which is a great thing.
Then when the writers,
and there'll be a lot more animated movies.
And then when the writers came back, they started writing the reality. So hey, I'm
Jimmy, you're so wrong with what you wrote in the chat, man. and Rusty, you're 100% right. I have dispatched several of the squirrels.
I was trying to give you the heads up, man. I just figured, you didn't mention it, so I figured, Rio, he's not a killer, man.
No, man. I surrounded my garden with mousetraps.
Did you? Well,
because I'm not here, I'm not out in the backyard enough to like snipe them all day long. So
have you ever seen?
Yeah, I've gotten rid of several of them.
Have you ever seen?
It's a wooded area, so there's a lot of squirrels around here.
Have you ever seen the squirrel hanging upside down by its nuts from one of those feeder things? He gets into this. There's a piece of iron work that's holding this thing up. And somehow he got in there, and his nuts are trapped inside the V, and he's hanging there. He died hanging there by his nuts. Let me tell you something. It's got to be a painful way to go. But anyway, speaking of going, I'm going to come back tomorrow night since it's Halloween and do a show, even though we're not on Revolution Radio. So I'm just going to come back tomorrow night and do a show over here. Do you guys want to come and do a show? Are you working tomorrow night, Rio? Or you want to come over here and hang out for a couple hours?
Well, it's kind of depends on time. I mean, tonight was fortunate enough. I just happened to wake up at like an hour before the show started.
We can go any time tomorrow because we're not on any schedule. So, an Epic, I know you're at the hotel, but can you do something tomorrow?
Yeah. I check out at 10 here, which is 3 hours, so 1 o'clock your time.
Which is 4 o'clock my time.
What time are you going to go home?
And then I'm going to drive home. Yeah, so I'm going to drive to my house. So my house is a 2-hour drive. So
that's the frogs inside the car.
Yes.
Okay. All right, well,
it's absolutely the frogs.
hit me up.
Not during the day. The frogs don't come out tonight. They come out at night.
All right, well, listen. Let's talk about it tomorrow. In the meantime, let's get out of here, you guys. And I'm just gonna hang up with both of you, and I'll contact you both tomorrow, okay, on Skype, because I got to run in the house right now. I got a bunch of stuff I got to do right away. So
happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah.
See you guys.
All right.
See you guys tomorrow night. Rio, man, hold on a second. I am so stoked that you're here with us, man. And I know you're coming next Friday, man. So I'm stoked. So
last week I ended up just crashing out, and that was the end of me until the next day. So it's still tough because it's 2 a.m. 3 a.m. here. So.
I think the three of us, together we'll do some fucking great shows, man. I can't wait. All right, so I got some music here to go out with. Let's go out with this, and I'll see you guys later.
Peace out, everyone.
I stole a ride on a passing star, not knowing where I was going, how near or how far. Through years of light, lands of future and past,